hate computers. I hate technology. I want everything to be idiot proof. I want everything covered in foam and rubber so that I never have to hurt myself on this stuff again.
Speaking of which, do you want me to take hosting this week or this month or whatever?
I was gonna host. I'm still willing to host.
Okay, go ahead. I'm not gonna stop you.
I'm not that angry.
Okay.
Okay.
I have no games, so you guys can talk about.
I sent you a game.
You did send me a game.
I sent you a game for a very late Christmas Hanukkah holiday present.
You sent me a game as I was stuck in deep work and just tired and exhausted and not playing anything at the time except for a couple NES games.
Well, the important thing is that Shigs has Pal World on his list, so neat.
The new hotness.
Welcome. Wait, are we starting, or have we started, or
yeah.
do I need to?
Well, we need to do our intro. So.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
So let's do our intro.
And we're live.
As in, I can start talking now, or do we have to let the intro go first?
Go. No. That means it is. Okay, go. Go. Start.
Okay, so I can introduce us. Okay, hello and welcome to episode 108 of Sonic Talk. I am your disheveled, disorganized host, Nuckles87, talking to you on his only reliable computer. Sometimes, when it feels like it. Okay, it's not reliable, but it was reliable today. My Steam Deck. So, okay, and with me today is Shigs. Say hi, Shigs.
If we have the Godzilla burgers from the Japanese McDonald's and the Sonic Happy Meal toys from the UK at the same time, I'd be a very happy man.
Okay. So you want burgers made out of Godzilla? Wouldn't that be a little radioactive? Wouldn't that give people cancer?
No, it's a promotion they're doing right now in Japan. They have Godzilla burgers.
How do you even make enough Godzillas to butcher them and turn them into burgers? Like, I know how much meat people can eat. Like, one Godzilla's not going to cut it. Anyway, also with me today is GX.
Man, I'm so glad that they're going to announce all the games that I want on Wednesday. They're going to announce, obviously, the Generations remake, which is also going to include an Unleashed remake, which is definitely going to include, like, Lost World and absolute from the ground up, a brand new remake of Sonic Adventure 2. It's going to have all the GBA games and all the DS games, and they're definitely going to release it for like maybe $20.
So you're just hoping that they're going to make like a Sonic 3D Jam collection then?
It's also going to contain the new Pender's graphic novel.
Okay, so let's get into it. I have been playing a bunch of games lately. Hasn't really let up since Christmas. I've had enough time to play some stuff. So first, I'm going to talk about my lone Oculus Quest game that I've had the time and the motivation to sink my time into. And that is Swarm for the Quest. And that's Swarm, which I got for essentially free through the MetaQuest Plus subscription, which I got a free 6-month subscription of that with my Quest 3. And this was like I got my Quest 3 on like the final day of December, so I had like that one day to download it. And my God, it is like one of the best VR games I've ever played. It's like, you've both played Pirate Simulator, I would assume, right?
No, I haven't played Pirate Simulator.
Okay, you need to play. Wait, you have an Oculus Quest, right?
Yeah, I have it too.
Okay, you both need to play Pirate Simulator.
As much as I should.
I'm glad that you just assumed that I didn't, because I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, you should both play Pirate Simulator. But in any case,
I don't know. I didn't get Pirate Simulator for Christmas.
Well, you know what? I hadn't thought of that. Oh, I can get Shigs that still. I think it's cheap enough. Okay, anyway. So yeah, so
Somebody didn't give
Swarm.
me a Christmas present yet.
Well, I wanted to send you a Steam game, but I don't have you on my friends list. And I sent you a friend request, and you've still not accepted that. And it's been like a week. And I even sent you a message on Discord.
I haven't been on Steam in a while. I apologize.
Ah, yeah, you should apologize. Anyway, okay.
Buy a friggin'
I guess I might
$500
as well
Steam
just
Deck and barely use it.
explain this from the ground up. You like Pirate Simulator is just this game where you're in a fully 3D arena, and you can like run around in a room and you shoot robots. So
Doesn't sound very piratey.
Yeah, I know, but it's very fun. And Swarm is like that, except you're also Spider-Man. Like, okay, so you have these two guns that are also grappling hooks, and you use them to swing around on these platforms suspended in the air. And as you're swinging around, you shoot all these robots that come at you in waves and in all these different varieties. There's this one type of robot that's just like flies around in waves, and you shoot all of them, and you shoot all of them. You have to shoot all of them to get a bonus. And like there's robots that will shoot at you. There's robots that will pursue you and crash into you. There's robots that will create shields, and they create like this constant dynamic battlefield that you have to strategize around. And so like it is just a very exhilarating game, like one of the most exciting games that I have played in VR. Period. Because you are like swinging around with these relatively realistic enough physics, shooting and flying, and like you have to keep yourself in the air constantly. If you hit the ground, you die. You have to avoid bombs. You have to avoid the robots, and it's like this great like multitasking action arcade game that feels like nothing that you should be able to play in the home. But of course you can, because VR is just that cool. And so like it's even got this story mode where like you every arena has like 6 missions, including a boss that you have to go through and accomplish different objectives. It's not just robot killing, although there's the core of it. And like the different bosses require different strategies. You have to like there's this one robot where you have to like slow down time in order to you can slow down time, by the way, where you have to slow down time in order to hit these targets that are only available on the top of its body. And so you have to like position yourself, and then you have to slow down time. Then you'll have to like this whole matrix effect going, and then you have to pinpoint your shots along its body in order to take down its shields and kill it. And so like it is just this constant escalation of this one like really cool action hook that also has these like little comic book story panels to tell a story throughout the whole thing. And so I guess I highly recommend it. It's really cool. Like if you have like just any love for like action VR stuff, I highly recommend it. It is one of the best games I've played in VR, period.
So to be clear, is there like a good sense of progression, or is it purely arcade score attack?
Well, there's progression in the sense that you slowly unlock mechanics and abilities and enemy types as you go through the story, and that constantly changes up the gameplay. Like you don't you don't level up, but like I think like in the second, like in one of the last missions of the first chapter, you unlock this new type of gun that will occasionally appear at the center of the arena as a power up that like lets you fire rockets and stuff. And so you kind of the enemies escalate, and your abilities and actions and your abilities also escalate over the course of the story.
Okay.
So like yes, so like yeah, it isn't just arcade score attack, but that is also that I of course really enjoy. And like as much as I like Pirate Simulator, because I know I've talked about that on here before, Like this just takes that concept where you're running around arena shooting robots and just takes it up to 11. Albeit that does come at the expense of weapon variety. You've got one set of guns that you can temporarily upgrade with other abilities. But beyond that, like basically the whole game is you're constantly choosing between firing your gun and using your grappling hook. And that's kind of the extent in terms of decision making in this game. Unfortunately, it's not on Quest Plus anymore. That was a December game, but I think it's only like $20. So, like, I don't know, keep an eye out for it.
Quest stuff, I think, goes on regular sale rotations. So it's like if you check week to week, you'll usually find a good time to get it at some point. It looks like they've already announced a sequel. Question mark?
Swarm 2, they did. Swarm 2 is coming. I think this game is actually a couple years old, but because I didn't have the Quest 2, I just have been missing a whole bunch of games.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So in addition to that, I have been mostly playing my Steam Deck. And the one like big game for me for a good chunk of December and January has been Red Dead Redemption 2. The game with the horse genitals that shrink in the cold. I have not been too observant of that, but I'm told that is a feature. Actually, I think I did briefly touch on it last week, didn't I? I guess, yeah. I guess didn't go in last month.
As far as I know, you did not touch on the horse genitals.
No, but I touched on other things. But I don't know. Like, I guess, I have been enjoying it still. I've been enjoying the increased scope. I've been enjoying trying to be a good guy who occasionally will rob a store owner in a mask. There's just some fun ways to commit crimes in this game. But and I've been progressing through the story. I only stopped because of what will be the rest of my discussion tonight, which is that I have been getting all of the Sonic games working on my Steam Deck, and I've been playing a huge chunk of them. When I upgraded my old leg Steam Deck, I gave my housemate Maddie my old one, and I basically like I said, okay, now that you've got it, I would like you to go through this guide and put all of the Sonic games on it on your Steam Deck, and then help me do that. Because I was trying to do that, and I was running into roadblocks. And the big roadblock being Hedge Mod Manager for Generations, which I was finally able to get partially working thanks to her, although only partially. It works for Sonic Generations and no other game. But man, this thing, it is insane how well these games run on here now. So one of the first games I was super excited to get running on here was Sonic Unleashed. Now Sonic Unleashed. That game used to run pretty poorly, and basically anything I tried emulating it on. But on the Steam Deck, it is actually surprisingly stable most of the time. Like, the graphical glitches are very rare now, thanks to the thanks to the Hedge Mod Manager that it uses. And the only level that has any kind of issues now is Adabet, which has some, I forget what it's called, some graphical spikes. Just, I don't know, there's some major screen tearing or something. Or polygons going every which way. But it's still even Adabat, which has never been a very stable level anyway, is now quite playable. And I basically at this point, I guess, have Portable Unleashed. And that, as I always say, whenever I play this game, the boost levels hold up very well. Although the next thing I do want to do in the next couple weeks or months is I want to finally start the whole thing game over and just go through the entire storyline, which I've not done in a decade. The next game was Sonic 06, which I guess got that working just long enough to see, okay, it works. And then I remembered the last time I played Sonic 06 and I cringed and then I shut it off. But then I decided to also get Sonic P06 working, which I've played extensively now, and I will say this. Sonic P06 is a much more impressive project now than it was when I first tried it years ago. It is probably like the most realized Sonic 06 could ever possibly be, because it does patch up a lot of things. Like, the controls are better, the characters are faster, the combat is quicker, the enemies are much easier to dispatch. Like, everything just plays a lot more smoothly. Like, it's the little design adjustments that do make things less frustrating and better overall. But even with all of these changes, this is still, like, I will no longer. It is not a trash game in this state, but it's still not an especially great one. Like, this still ain't Sonic Adventure 2. This ain't Sonic Generations. It isn't even Sonic Unleashed, honestly, because, like, it's still ultimately being hamstrung by its level design, which, one, is built around slower gameplay. Like, there is a reason why Sonic is so goddamn slow in that game. But although I will say that, like, Sonic being faster does make the game a lot better. But regardless, like, the flow is lacking. Like, there's like, the enemy rooms, they are still there. It feels segmented a lot of the time. It doesn't really feel like I can just blast through a level like I can in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 or any of the Boost games. It feels too compartmentalized. And a part of that is, like, the enemy rooms, but another aspect is that a lot of these levels just have multiple characters that are built around slower gameplay styles that just kind of drive the pacing of the speed sections just to a halt. And so, while I am increasingly feeling convinced that, like, yes, there is a decent game underneath all of the Sonic 06 garbo, there still isn't a great one. But regardless, like, if you're gonna play Sonic 06 on Steam Deck, Project 06 just runs great and is easy to set up. Now, the final game that I want to talk about is Sonic Advanced. Still a very fun game. Probably the best of the Advanced games going back to it now, because I've been playing Advanced 2, I've been playing Advanced 3 a couple times over the last few years, but I have barely touched Advanced 1. Now that I have, it's like, the gimmicks aren't quite as good as they are in the classics. The level design isn't quite there, and, like, the Dim's death picks do begin to rear their head near the end. But on the whole, the game is very fun to play when you're not trying to collect the Chaos Emeralds, which, like, I've never really worked too hard to get the Emeralds in Sonic Advance before. And, like, because, I didn't really care back when I played
it. Let me be clear here.
Yeah.
Every Sonic Advance special stage is absolutely miserable. They're miserable to get to. They're miserable to play. They're not really conducive for the type of console that they're on. Like just depth perception in the way that they try to make it pseudo 3D does not work. It does not work to make things line up properly.
It surprised me just how out of the way every single special stage access point was in this game. Like, I had to use a map to find them. And, like, the very first stage, which should be the most accessible one, because it's the first stage. It's basically impossible to get to it as Sonic. Like, you have no reason to go in the direction that it wants you to go to get there as Sonic. Like, that's the one where I guess, F it, I'm getting Tails. I took Tails, I flew him up, and then I did it, and I got my first Chaos Emerald. Because, my god, like, I had to go through all these, like, complex platforming bits. And if I fell down, I had to backtrack to, like, the middle of the level to try again. Like, I saw a time over trying to do that. And, like, even if you want to play as the other characters, not as Tails or Knuckles, not as Sonic, like, these things are still just so out of the way that there's no way you would be able to find them naturally on your own, unless you just stumbled upon them through pure dumb luck. And then the special stage has these complex mechanics that it does nothing to convey to you. Meaning that if I did not have save states, I would be doing these over and over again until I figured out like the basic mechanics of how I'm supposed to like dive bomb between bombs, or how or like where on the level I'm supposed to be to get certain rings or hit certain springs. Like I had no idea what these like golden circles were until I accidentally did a trick through it and realized, oh, I do a trick through it in order to get rings. And so just and like this is probably the most accessible of the Sonic Advance special stages too. So man, I am not looking forward to trying to do the other two games one day. I'm going to be safe stating a lot. In any case, so that's been most of my experience. I've also played Sonic Jam in the GameCom, which in order to get GX some music, and it's still crap. Like the Sonic 3 on it like has this tree that you're supposed to run on from the original game, but breaks when you try to enter it. And that has been like my last few weeks of game playing.
Yeah, only ever be Tails in that game. He's the only heavy air quotes playable character.
Yeah, I'm convinced that the game is just like soft locked for Sonic at points. So, Shigs, you have been playing Atari 2600 Plus.
Yeah, the fun is back. Oh yes, siree. It's the 2600 from Atari. I got some Atari games for Christmas because I wasn't originally planning on getting the Atari 2600 Plus because I tried it out at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I found out that the 7800 homebrews that I got, which kind of got me back into collecting Atari games, would not work on this system. So basically, what it is, it's basically like a Retron 77 where it's Atari's official put it out. It can hook up to HDMI and you can play all your old Atari 2600 games in HD. It comes with a classic joystick, although you can use any old like 7800. You can use a Genesis pad if you want to. Those old 9-pin
awesome.
those 9-pin things still work. I got let me see. I got a Berserk Enhanced Edition, which now has voice added to it, and Mr. Run and Jump, which is just a very, very basic platformer. And like I said, it wasn't interested in getting the system itself because I could play those on the 7800 without any issue. But then they just released a pre-release firmware update on the Atari Age that fixes all the problems with the 7800 homebrews. So now I can play the Pac-Man collection, the Baby Pac-Man one, Pac-Man Junior, one I got called ATRI, and a few other 7800 homebrews that weren't working at all before. Now they're working great, and it's a good little system. The one downside I'll say is I did end up getting the paddles with a four paddle game collection, and I noticed there was quite a bit of lag on it, a fair amount, like almost like a quarter to a millisecond of lag. And with paddles, you cannot have that. It has to be one-on-one or else it screws up, especially with Kaboom. Now I tried Kaboom and the others with my old 7800, and they work, and so the paddles work perfectly.
So
but
the new paddles
there's a slight. It's not that the paddles have lag because, like I said, they work perfectly on the 7800.
Okay, the game has lag. Yeah.
So it's not the game. It's not the games. It's the signal. I think coming from the Atari to the TV has a slight bit of lag. It's something I don't really notice on the joysticks that I notice on the paddles. So
okay,
that's a bit of a downer on that. But other than that,
used to the CRT timing.
Yeah. So other than that, if you're just playing mini joystick games, it's still a great little system if you're a retro game collector. Now the other thing I've been playing is the big game of the week that's been very controversial, and that's Pal World.
Yes.
And anyone who's seen this knows that Pal World is basically a survival game. Very much like Lego Fortnite. If you've played that one, you get up, you get hungry, you got to make food, you got to make your shelter and weapons and stuff. But
So
add
it's
to this are
Pokemon
based.
Fortnite.
Yeah, it's like it's like Pokemon. I gotta think of another survival game because there's a lot of those.
The comparison that most people have been making is Ark.
Yeah, it's like Ark. Yeah, only
Pokemon Arc.
with basically with Pokemon. Now, the big controversial thing I'll say in this is that a lot of the Pokemon look like they're almost stolen assets from previous Pokemon games. I mean, I have a statue in my base that helps enhance some of your pals. They call them, and it looks like Lucario, but with a Egyptian headdress on, basically.
like
And
everything.
there's some
Everything
others
looks like.
where it looks like they took the face of one Pokemon and put it on a different thing. Like there's one that looks like a Slowbro that they put on a fish, and they took the gill from others. They just like Frankenstein this thing,
Because
and I don't know
everything
why
here
they
looks.
went with this because they can make a Pokemon. They can have a
Oh,
Pokemon like thing.
can I
But
I can explain why they went with this, and it's because they sold 8 million copies in like a week.
It's up to 8 now. Last I heard was 3. Jesus.
yeah, it's
Um,
one thing to be inspired, but this is just like completely ripping the art style and slapping
this
on
is
to different
this
things.
whole thing is basically just like legally distinct Pokemon. Aside from their
I
big
don't even
mascot
think they're
character,
legally
which
distinct in a
Well,
lot of
no,
ways.
I think it's legally distinct. Like
so
everything's
okay,
different, but it's pretty obviously ripping it off.
just to get into clarification, obviously, hey, you can have your own opinion on how you feel the sentiment is. Uh, the discourse around this game has been stupid. Like it's been asinine. People just have very strong opinions on both sides of it, and the real answer is, hey, we're not Nintendo's or Pokemon Company's lawyers.
No.
We don't need to litigate this for them. They will figure out what they can and can't reasonably do if they feel that it's worth doing, which at the end of the day, it might not even be worth doing because can they really prove that like this is hurting Pokemon in a meaningful way or causing brand confusion or something?
Yeah, I don't care which way they go with it. But they do look like bootleg Pokemon to me. Only you tame
Aside
them by
from
the first Pokemon I came across, or the first pal. I just beat it with a stick until it was weak enough to capture it with a pal sphere. They call it.
I love
It's
how
or
it's like,
Pokeball.
what if we had like Pokemon, but it was like realistic,
Yeah,
sort
like
of,
if we could
because
really
it's like
abuse the Pokemon.
you can
But
abuse them, you can turn them into food, you can use them as slave labor,
you
you
can
can
turn
shoot them with
humans
guns,
into food in this. You can act.
and
They say
I was gonna
don't
say you can
capture
catch
humans. It's
humans,
cruel, but you
you can
can
catch
beat up and
humans with a
capture humans.
Pokeball.
But then they'll attack your base. So you'll get a policeman attacking your base if you do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Um,
is insane. You can just catch a human and like you just get a message saying this is frowned upon, and I forget the name
yeah,
of the island, but like you can still do it and use them as slave labor or sell them or whatever, and it's just like so weird.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Your little pals are used as slave labor on your camp. The more you update your camp, the more of the Pokemon type you can get that'll work on your little base, and they'll do the chores, your chores for you, so you don't have to do a lot of little things, and that's pretty cool. I like that aspect. They've simplified some of the Pokemon stuff, like yeah, just to you can have a little menu of like I think 5 or 6 Pokemon with you as you travel. You can press the LB button to throw them out, and if you attack any other creature out, out in the wild, they'll start attacking them with you.
Uh,
And then you can press L2 again to throw them back, and press RB to throw a Pokeball to when it's or Pal Sphere when it's weak enough to grab. So it's very quality of life friendly in that respect.
yeah.
In fact, I'm playing
although as I
on easy. There's
understand
an
it,
easy mode you could play on this, and this is by far the easiest, most fun I think survival game I've actually played. And I played a few of
really,
these, and I've actually been enjoying this one quite a bit. Yeah, I
huh,
finished up the entire tutorial area, which is when you fight a boss at the end of it. There's like bosses and stuff you can you come across from time to time. So it's got a good amount of like exploration and inaction, and plus the whole Pokemon thing.
Although, as I
But
understand it, you don't access guns until you're like level 45 or something.
I don't know. I have
Like the game
I
I think
forget
it's
what it's
Yeah,
called. I have a grass. I
it's
have a grass type that I have the tech now to add a turret gun to, but I don't have enough I'm not leveled up enough to add a turret gun to the grass type Pokemon.
Yeah, as kind of Lee mentions in chat here, this certainly is not the first Pokemon-like game. I think the tough part for me and what's kind of keeping it for me is I legitimately like the Pokemon RPG battling. Like it is worth mentioning that this is not a
This
Pokemon
is
game.
not the RPG. Yeah, this is not a Pokemon game in the traditional sense of RPG.
No, it's not a Pokemon game, period. Like it is not designed around the turn-based RPG Pokemon battles, which is like what I go to a Pokemon game for.
and like some like vague ideas like Pokeballs and
This is
stuff,
like
but
Pokemon Survivor, basically.
They took Ark and Breath of the Wild and like Elden Ring, mashed everything together, added something. They basically just took what are all these popular things, let's put them all in a game and give it this pseudo edgy marketing that, isn't necessarily reflective of the game but is technically in the game, and then release something that is, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this. It just seems jank to me. Like it just seems jank and kind of, well, it literally unfinished because people have
For an Xbox game, it does feel finished. I mean, I can expect this on Steam.
No. I mean, it
Xbox.
is no. I mean, it is literally unfinished. There is no ending yet.
Oh yeah, this is still early access. When you play it on Xbox, it says this is an early access game. It is unfinished so far.
Right.
Game Pass. So I didn't pay for this. I'm just playing it on Game Pass. So
Sure.
to let people know out there.
I'm tempted to at least give it a look, but like
it's worth giving it a shot to try. Like I said, I have been enjoying my time with it, at the very least.
I admit, just playing one of these things that's full of off-brand Pokemon does it at least catches my interest a little. Although in regards to the design, I will say that their main character does look more like a angry My Neighbor Totoro to me.
Yeah, that comparison has been made,
but he's not. He's not around too much. I think that was the first boss I fought with some lady on top of him. Then they forget the name.
I understand that you are incentivized to not be mean to your pals. That's I don't know.
Well, once you capture them, sure, because they help you out.
Yeah.
Before that, if they're out in the wild, you can kill them for meat and for other stuff. Otherwise, yeah, like I say, I am enjoying my time. It's if you're playing on, I'm just playing on easy, and it's pretty free flowing. It's
hello.
Yeah,
I can hear you. He's just talking over us.
Yeah, I get hungry, but it's not like a ridiculous amount. I can hear you.
Hello, GX, say something.
Hi, I'm still talking. Did we lose you?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up and rejoin real quick.
Beautiful. I will very briefly talk about what I've been playing, if only to stall for time. All I've been playing is a bunch of NES games. Again, there's really not much for me to say about them. I've completed both Tiny Toon Adventures games for NES and have begun Ninja Turtles for NES, the original, the infamous one, we'll say.
I can hear you again.
The way that I would describe them, hi, we can hear you too, is that they are all interesting, and they are all Konami, and they are all just sort of, not especially well polished and feel kind of unfair in spots. But beyond that, it's fun enough. It's a platformer, and I'm a sucker for old school platforming. So,
what were you talking about just now?
I was talking about 3 Konami licensed NES games. Tiny Toon
Okay.
and Ninja Turtles.
Playing games.
The second Tiny Toons game is weird. It's like a series of semi-platforming / mini-game stuff. It's a weird one. Go check out a video of it. So yeah, let's jump into the news.
Yes. Okay, so first up is so the UK is getting a new set of McDonald's Sonic Happy Meal toys in quotation marks. Now in the UK, the McDonald's no longer like produces plastic toys, and so instead they make like these cheap little paper craft things.
Everyone I talk to about this, especially in the UK, is super salty about that. Personally, I wish we had that policy here in the States.
Because you're an environmentalist? Because you think that this looks cool?
Because mostly the environmental aspect, but also I don't think McDonald's toys are good to begin with. So it's like, well, if you're getting something that disposable, like just have it be actually disposable.
Like I don't know, I enjoyed being able to get some of those Sonic 2 Happy Meal toys.
How long did you enjoy them? How much do you still enjoy them?
Oh, I still have them. I still have a bunch of them displayed, so I guess I'm still enjoying them now.
I don't know. I looked at them and they looked not good. Like they're like very simply painted.
They do have stickers you can add.
Look, I don't like McDonald's on the best of days, so sure.
But the big thing that they added, which unfortunately we've not been able to try yet, has been a mobile game themed around Sonic Superstars. And what's kind of funny about this is that like the Sonic papercraft toys are modern and the game is classic, and a lot of people are pointing out how like, hey, why are they like mixing modern and classic? You know, because they usually try to divide the brand.
They are technically different licenses.
Yeah, but like I'm guessing that they wanted to promote Sonic Superstars with something, so they sent a bunch of modern Sonic concept art McDonald's way. Regardless, I do want to give that mobile game a try at some point. I'm hoping Sven might be able to like get his hands on the QR code that you have to scan off the Happy Meal box in order to play it. Like, we can just send that to us. You know, we can all probably play it. Although I'm sure it's not very good, but you know, for me, it's always just
interesting. Oh, the first one was great, wasn't it?
Crap Sonic. I think it was interesting. You know,
you found a massive bug in it. You could escape the level.
Like that's what part of what was so interesting about that. I was like discovering this stuff for the first time. But because it was a cheap little free mobile thing, like I didn't have to care. It's just like, hey, look at this broken piece of crap.
McDonald's, hey, look at this broken piece of crap. Put it on the front of the restaurant.
But yeah, as I understand, we will be getting that policy. Although I'm hoping we will get that after Sonic 3 comes out, so that we can get like one more set of.
So we can get a poorly painted Sonic thing that you can roll and then put on a shelf.
Yes, a shadow that can roll. Yes.
To be honest, though, a poorly designed broken Sonic game is how you're getting the Sonic experience proper.
Depends on which.
So speaking of toys, because Sonic, we got some new additions to the Sonic Prime toy lineup, including Alpha Grim, which is like this repainted version of that Chaos Sonic. If you haven't seen Sonic Prime, and Baton Rouge, which is Pirate Rouge, as well as the Knuckles from the Fascist universe and Pirate Sonic.
Are we just going to call it the Fascist universe from now on?
Oh, that's the one I remember. I'm sorry.
New Yoke.
Okay.
They call it New Yoke.
New Yoke universe. Yes. But that's just how I've always remembered it.
Oh yeah, it's the fascist one in our children's cartoon.
I mean, it is. That's definitely their form of government.
But anyway, I'm gonna say this is the first Rouge in the lineup after we've had like 3 Amy's. So it's kind of nice to finally have her in some form. Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically, like Amy, all the Amy's have been basically the most important characters in their respective worlds. Like that's just kind of the alternate character group that they decided to focus on in the Prime show, which I guess we'll probably get into later. But regardless, like I don't know, I have not picked up any of these. I probably never will because
I have,
just
so I'll
don't look
probably
very
that
cool.
thing.
Grim Sonic's actually kind of tempting to me.
Yeah, I might pick up Grim or Chaos Sonic.
If they
put them next to Metal Sonic.
If they made a pack, like I don't buy Sonic toys in the way that I once did like a decade ago, but if they had a pack of just the Grim version characters, you know me, I like robots. I like robots and I want robots.
And like for a lot of these characters, like they don't get robot versions very often, so I'll give you that. But like I don't know, it's just my big issue with the Sonic Prime toys is that I've never been a big fan of the whole make these special toy variant characters that like Sonic has a cyborg eye.
So basically, you've never been into the entire span of Ninja Turtles history.
No. And when it came to Gargoyles, which I did buy some of those toys back in the day, those variants annoyed me when those were the only ones available for a character. They looked ugly. I hated them.
I'm thinking of like, yeah, I'm thinking like this has real vibes of like classic Ninja Turtles, but then also the real Ghostbusters. The real Ghostbusters were all about like, here's our line of just it's the same four characters. But now they transform into things, or their body parts pop off, or like their eyes bug out or something.
Bug out. I'm thinking the same thing.
That just inherently makes the Sonic Prime toys just not appealing to me.
What? Okay, but what if Sonic's eyes bugged out?
Like what
what if you could?
One of his spikes
what if you could make Knuckles? What if Knuckles came with the Ecto-1? And Rouge came with the Turtles Party Wagon, and you could race them.
I mean, I'd probably get Rouge with the Party Wagon, because I've never cared for Ninja Turtles toys, but I've always thought their car looked cool.
They do have a cool car. It shoots pizzas,
That's probably one reason why I would buy it. Although with Rouge, I would think with, like, I don't know, shoot fake gems or something,
or pizzas. Everyone likes pizza.
Back pizzas. Spy themed pizzas. Spy bat themed pizzas. There we go.
You know who else stole a lot?
Tommy Tallarico.
You got it. You got there. I'm proud of you.
Stole a lot of people's money on that Amico, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm still hoping that comes out, because that.
Oh no, that's so not coming out. It's just not existing now.
Okay, so we talked about we talked about this a little bit. So next month, okay. Look. I'm in not a lot of communities, but the communities I am love a good trash fire. And this is the best trash fire. So I am up on the latest Amico news. And the latest Amico news is that they have a roadmap. And on that roadmap is next month you might be able to get the controllers. Not a console. The console's not on anywhere on the roadmap.
You can get the games with the covers and everything with the code for a console that's not there, and now they want to sell the controllers for a console that's still not there.
Oh, here's the thing. They have already started releasing the games for it. Like, you can go on Switch and get, like, Shark and all sorts of bullcrap.
Yeah, that's what's nuts. But you could also buy the ones in the package just for the Amico, even though you can't buy an Amico.
They have created an app to turn your Android phone into an Amico controller so that you can connect to another Android device that will play the game, and then Oh, it's insanity. It's beautiful insanity.
Because the whole point of the controller was to be so simple.
Also, what money do they even have left? Like they got rid of their office. They could not sustain an office.
Like, when it comes to the Amico, it's not right to call it a scam or say that it was stolen. Like, it was just like the most poorly
I wouldn't
managed.
say I wouldn't go that far up
No,
until
it's just
there's a certain point where it's like they just need to refund and say it's over.
They might not even have.
They tried their hardest, you know.
Look, okay, but what if you are run by a man who has thrown his entire ego into everything that he has ever pretended to do? And then, like I'm going to make a political comparison right about now, so I'm going to back off and stop this train of thought.
Oh, come on. You were going to say Donald Trump. Just say it. We're all thinking it.
Okay, but yeah, obviously many of us understand, for most of us, we sort of have a general gist of like the fallout of the H-Bomber Guy video on Tommy Tallarico and everything that he has claimed to do and has not done, as well as, basically, if you're unaware, just for the uninitiated, so a YouTuber called H-Bomber Guy who does, like lengthy video essays, just looking at people who do things online or weird trends or like weird cultural trends that like where they come from and what's going on with them and why they are problematic. And he semi-recently did a very lengthy video essay researching Tommy Tallarico, what Tommy Tallarico has claimed to do and what he has actually accomplished. And the end result of that is he sure claims to do a lot that seems to where the actual work done was done by someone else. He owns a company, and he claims to have done almost everything in that company, but the people under him sure seem to have done the actual work, and he sure seems to have taken all the credit.
He has been like a modestly successful businessman who's very good at promoting himself and was able to get himself some sweet gigs like some TV review stuff and video games live. But like in terms of like his actual body of work, like he has done music, but he's also taking credit for a lot of other people's music. And the reason why we're talking about today is because all of his Sonic and the Black Knight music,
the ones where he claims to have been the first Westerner to work on a Sonic game, which
is just blatantly nonsense because Sonic 2 was literally made in the US like 15 years earlier. But okay, so like he is credited for 3 tracks in that game, and all 3 of those tracks, which are very good tracks, are just remixes of music from obscure PC games or PC games I've never heard of anyway, done by employees at his company. In other words, he gets remixed other people's music, and there is certainly like I'm not going to say it doesn't require any effort, obviously, but like that does mean that he did not originate the original tune.
So okay, I wanna do some clarification on that. As I am loading up my MP3 tagging software, which I have painstakingly went ahead and basically one by one copied everything from properly tagged using VGMDB and the information that they have gotten from the official soundtracks and
video game music database.
Yes, video game music database. So the only one in which he is actually credited in the soundtrack as an arranger is The Cauldron. He is credited as the composer, which we now know is not true, for Molten Mind and The Cauldron. But only Great Megalith was the one where he was credited as arranger. Jun Senao was the arranger for the other 2 tracks. So, Tommy arguably may not have been involved in any capacity for the other 2 tracks. Now, maybe he arranged Great Megalith. We know he did not compose it. Possibly he arranged it, but yeah, fun times reading through the liner notes of that soundtrack.
Hey, that is just incredible.
It's funny, in the first Sonic Revolution that I was involved in, we had him as a top Sonic tally, you know?
Oh, I bet he loved that.
We thought he was, we thought he was, a major character, part of that soundtrack.
It honestly, like, hearing that makes me think back to that old South by Southwest where they had Yuji Naka, and how much they were just asking Yuji Naka dumb Shadow the Hedgehog questions. And it was like, and at the time, I was like, man, it's like, you had freaking Yuji Naka there. Why are you wasting the man's time? And now at this point, with all hindsight, I'm like, yeah, you know what? This is probably the best use of his time. He's at least not making Balan Wonderworld right this second.
Or committing financial fraud.
Arguably a lesser crime, but still a crime nonetheless.
Arguably, sure.
But yeah, hey, Tommy, that thing that we thought Tommy might have done, no, he actually did not do it. Surprise.
So moving on to our next items, the Sonic OVA. Right. So some bad news. The Sonic OVA can't be licensed because Sega does not know who owns the dub. Now, as I recall, it was dubbed by ADV.
Originally, yeah.
Which died during the big American anime crash of the mid 2000s or late 2000s, somewhere around there, when Toonami died. Apparently Sega just doesn't know, just can't find the paperwork and doesn't know who to go to license.
Well, there's a simple solution to that. They can just go ahead and do it, and if they get a cease and desist, pay the people off, and
unfortunately,
if nothing happens, then they're good.
The problem is, it wouldn't be Sega, because it wasn't Sega that originally presented this news. It wasn't Sega that's actively looking to put it out. I don't think Sega cares. It was Discotech.
No, I don't think so.
Sega is the company that looked for the paperwork.
Sure, but Discotech are the people who actually were asked,
right,
and replied and said they're not able to find the paperwork needed to properly pay out whatever royalties would be associated with this.
Okay, so Sega just has to say, all right, we'll license it to you. Then when you get sued, we'll just pay them off. That's not how business works. Though.
No, it's not how business. It's how Tommy's business works.
Of course, the other solution is to redub the OVA.
Oh, and look, don't break my heart, man. Don't break my heart like this.
Are you kidding? It's one of the worst dubs anyway.
No, I love it. I love that. Number one, I love that dub. Number two, he's breaking my heart because it would never happen. Nobody's going to pay to have this done. It is in no circumstance, in no context, actually worth it. It hurts me to admit that in public, out loud. But we all know it's true.
If I'm going to be honest, I find the dub to be way more tolerable than the Sonic 06 than the Sonic X dub.
Oh, I will watch this 1,000 times more. The voices that they have in that OVA, whenever I'm reading anything classic Sonic in IDW comics, those are the voices in my head.
I will say that for classic
absolutely.
I use his OVA voice.
Oh, his OVA voice is so good.
Perfect.
Oh, it's so good.
But overall, though, like, it is like kind of your typical, although I think on the upper end, late 90s anime dub quality, which is like, doesn't touch what we get these days, but is still better than a lot of what we would get in the 90s. And early 2000s, not counting stuff like Cowboy Bebop.
It absolutely, but admittedly, like, it absolutely feels like a cast that, or a performance that was very of that era. Like, not even just of that era, but like of the era that the original OVA was even made in. Like I think of something like the modern Viz dub of Sailor Moon, and the modern Viz dub of like classic 90s Sailor Moon still feels spiritually like a 90s anime with a 90s anime cast with 90s anime performances, and it's so great. It's of an era, but here's my actual pitch. And my actual pitch is, okay, let's go find Edwin Neal, and let's go find Lainey Frazier, and as we go ahead and do this Sonic Generations remake, we go ahead and recast Classic Tails and Classic Robotnik.
And what if we gave classic Sonic a voice and just made him that nasally guy?
We could do that. We could, but I don't know. I don't want my classic Sonic to talk. Honestly, that's probably the real answer. Is I like their choice of not making classic Sonic talk, but if we're gonna have a remake of Generations, okay, might as well.
So, moving on to, I think this is one of your stories, GX. So Sega Sammy has restructured their toy and arcade division into a single division called Sega Fave. Now, I did not follow this at all because I don't care about any of these things. So, like, enlighten us.
So, there's probably not a lot to say about it at this point. Understanding the Sega corporate structure, like, we tend to think of, like, hey, Sonic video games, and, like, what does it even mean that the company is Sega Sammy? And the answer is, it kind of means a lot. Like, there are a lot of divisions that Sega has under them, if you're not familiar, and it's stuff like, hey, TMS Animation, the studio that makes things like Sonic X, or Detective Conan, or Lupin the Third. Those are all, part of Sega.
Yes, all anime classics.
Mars Animation Planet makes more than just Sonic cutscenes. They recently made a Lupin the Third anime movie. They own stuff like resorts. They own things like obviously like a basketball team, the Shibuya Sun Rockers, I think it was. They have a online featured darts platform, but also Sega has a toy company in their corporate structure, Sega Toys.
One's called Sega Toys. Yeah.
And
they're the guys who made the Sega Pico.
They made the Sega Pico. They have made, like, Pokemon toys. They have made, if you remember the Poochie craze of the early 2000s, the sort of robot dog craze, then they made that. Yeah, they made that. And most recently, they made things like the Sega Astro Mini and those stupid tiny Game Gears. So they
brilliant tiny Game Gears,
and they even have made, like, some video games. Not a lot of video games, but, like, some video games that are usually associated with weird toy brands and stuff. But yeah, it effectively what they're looking to do with this and their what was the other organization that they were doing? It was some of their arcade divisions, which, let's be real, arcade development isn't quite what it is, but effectively they are combining these two. They are removing the arcade portions of Sega and adding it to Sega toys and sort of combining them into this single structure that is, by the sounds of it, designed to really support their cross-media aspirations. Like, at this point, they've gone full steam ahead on cross-media stuff for Sonic. We've got the cartoon, we've got the toy deals, we've got everything. They are absolutely looking to do that with other franchises that they have. Like, most notably, they would like to do more with Yakuza, and probably justifiably so. Like, this latest Yakuza is selling very, very well for the series right now. They want to do things with the Persona series and extend that further, which, yeah, plus, I mean, we're just looking at them owning Rovio now, and Rovio comes with a lot of its own cross-media stuff. Like, they have expressed interest in, yeah, we want to do more cartoons with Angry Birds and stuff. We know Rovio is working on some Sega-related games and stuff. So this sounds like they want this company with experience in cross-media ventures to be able to help them through cross-media partnerships and agreements and products and licensing and just putting out anything that would make sense for the franchises that they have and the franchises that they want to put out, which, let's be real, if the Super game is whatever all of the games that they seem to claim that it's going to be, then they probably are looking at, like, cross-media stuff with it.
Yeah, but, like, they part of the point of the Super game is that it's supposed to, like, make money consistently over the course of years, and one way you would do that would be through merchandise.
That sure is what they would like it to do. Whether it will actually do that,
I just hope that we keep getting more of those classic revivals like Jet Set Radio and stuff, and they're all good.
That's the weird part, because, like, they're saying Super Game is, like, many things, but they're also saying, like, these are part of Super Game, but they're also saying that Super Game is some sort of Roblox-esque platform that they want to make, and I have no clue what to make of any of that. The only way I could think of them being part of a single project is if these other games that they are pitching are things made in this platform. But even then, like, I don't know if they know. I don't know if they have any clear vision of what Super Game is, except for, hey, we have plans for things to make, therefore it goes in the Super Game bucket.
Well, whatever the case, they've reorganized, like, two of their like decades old divisions to do this, so we'll see soon enough, I guess. So the next thing, I guess, should come with a massive spoiler warning.
And I mean, are we spoiling his health?
Oh wait, right, sorry, there's one more thing ahead of the big spoiler warning thing. So the Japanese voice for Eggman had to step away from season 3 of Sonic Prime's recording due to health issues. Which, uh-oh.
Yeah, well,
one of the important things about Eggman is that since he's, like, generally voiced by older people, like,
we have a justification to be, mildly concerned. He's older, but he's not that old at this point. But also, like, this is the voice actor that came in after the passing of the previous voice actor. So, there's a bit of anxiety. There's certainly reason for, some anxiety about it. But we don't have any information about what it is. We probably shouldn't have any information about what it is. It's a very personal matter. But basically, Sega has sent their well wishes, said, hey, two other people are taking over these characters during the final season of Sonic Prime, which, that's not super ridiculous. It's
yeah. I actually forgot that they had the game actors in the Japanese dub.
I think so. Didn't they also have the game actors for the movie dub, or am I imagining that?
I think they've been using the game actors pretty consistently across all media for like decades now. Like it's only in the U.S. where it gets changed. Aside from Sonic Boom, which has so far been the exception.
Yeah. I think that also kind of speaks to the difference in how voice acting is treated regionally, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you want to talk about some spoilers now and be less sad?
Yep. Well,
hey,
I'm a little sad that this stuff got leaked, but yeah. So
wait, hold on.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, just to be clear, this is very spoilery. In fact, I'm making it so spoilery that I'm putting the spoilers zone on screen. We are about to talk about the leaked storyboards for both the Sonic 3 movie and the Knuckles Paramount series coming out. If you want to split and maybe come back, we will, or at least put it on mute. Hey, then we will remove the spoiler zone tag after we are done talking about it. So it's up to you. If you want to go in as blind as possible, by all means, mute us or step away. We understand, but we're going to go ahead and just quickly discuss, hey, what's up with these massive drops of images that someone put out of like these two scenes of the endings of both series.
Yeah.
Or probably endings.
Like I only like kind of glanced at them and then I read your summary. But let's just get into Sonic 3 first. So at least if the storyboards are at all accurate, not only is Jim Carrey coming back, but he survived his fight with Super Sonic, and then Agent Stone rescued him from the robot and nursed him back to health. Which I'm not surprised. I always knew that, like, my hope that Robotnik just wasn't going to be in this was always on a wing and a prayer, and like maybe they still recast the character and he's not Eggman and he's just some other dude now, but like Jim Carrey or some version of Robotnik will be coming back.
I am also a bit disappointed. I hope he is more on a leash now, or who knows?
Yeah, I hope he's a more minor character in the shadows than the main.
Maybe they will use it as an opportunity, if he was crushed under some rocks, to change the actor, perhaps, and say,
yes, please. But like my hope, if they were going to have to bring Robotnik back, was going to be, hey, his body is destroyed and his brain is transferred into Jack Black's body. I've said that on here before, but that is not what we saw on the storyboards.
Jack Black's it is now law that Jack Black must be in all video game cartoons.
For the record, I was saying that before he was announced as Bowser, I think.
Well,
I've been saying that since Sonic 2.
Look, if you have no clue if you have no clue how to cast a movie to the degree that you are casting what's his face as Mario, then no, you're not going to be creative enough to cast anybody but Jack Black.
Which, hey, Jack Black was good at Bowser. He'd make a great Eggman.
I'm not complaining about it, but I am saying that it's not the creative choice. It's the choice that you make when you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Oh, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You're right about that. I don't.
But yeah, like the Sonic 3 scene is something about time travel. Time travel is going to be involved as Robotnik and Shadow are aboard the Space Colony Ark. I think Super Shadow is somehow involved in this, but who knows? It could just be.
Are we sure this is Robotnik and not Gerald Robotnik?
This is absolutely
time traveling to the future.
There is a storyboard of Agent Stone nursing him back to health. It is definitely Robotnik.
I am like 99% sure that it is Robotnik in there.
Unless, like, I don't know, there was a time portal, and instead of uncovering Dr. Robotnik, Agent Stone uncovered Gerald Robotnik and, like, nursed him back to health. But nah, I don't think that's the case. But regardless, like, it takes place on the Ark. There's a scene that takes place in the Ark control room. Robotnik and Shadow are, like, talking, and, like, Shadow's outside in space as Super Shadow. And that's as far as I've seen. So, like, what else was in there?
I mean, you kind of did. Like, there's as they are going through time, there's like some weird scenes of, I am guessing Supersonic having a fight that breaks in the window that, like, pops in. There's another scene of, like, Robotnik shooting finger guns, like literal finger guns, like for some reason he has Yu Yu Hakusho finger powers or something at another copy of himself. I don't know. And it's very weird. It's very abstract. It doesn't really tell you much of meaning except, like, hey, these are some characters. This is a scene. Now, obviously, all of this comes with a major grain of salt of, like, hey, we are only assessing these as accurate because of the degree of the sheer amount of them. Like,
there's like 400 of these storyboards.
It would be difficult
for legitimate storyboards.
Yeah, it would be difficult to, like, fake that unless you were, you know, spending a lot of time creating a fake. But also, it came with the Knuckles one, and the Knuckles one feels very, very believable for Paramount's current trajectory.
So, like, I all I know is that Knuckles and Wade are, like, fighting a robot, and Wade yelled,
they are
Black Arms.
Somewhere in the story
referencing the Flames of Disaster from Sonic 06, which I don't know why they do that.
So that's actually gets into another spoiler, which
even in the episode titles.
Yes. So number one, it's worth mentioning, we shouldn't we cannot take these to as necessarily literal. Like, if there is a very good chance that they will use things spiritually, that they will interpret things in different ways, because two things of note here are the Flames of Disaster, which is a reference to the Iblis trigger from Sonic 06, and the Black Arms, which is a reference to Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, obviously, in Shadow the Hedgehog, they were an alien race that helped create Shadow. This is considered Black Arms fight as the scene itself, and it could be like, hey, Black Arms could be the name of, like, hey, here's a splinter group in the military who does Black Ops stuff, or hey, there's maybe, like, Black Arms is the name of the mech suit that they created, and they're just using it as a reference. There could be 1,000 reasons why, and heck, these could be old. We don't know how old these are. Maybe they don't even apply anymore. Who knows?
What I wanted to bring up was that, like, this stuff does change. It gets revised. It is possible that this was, like, based off of an old draft of these scripts.
But
I don't know. Like, I'm just not expecting that. Like,
But if you want to know what it is, Knuckles and, I'm assuming, Wade. We don't know if it's Wade, but it's probably Wade. Are somehow going to find themselves in a bowling tournament in Reno, where the fight against the robot occurs. Reno is featured prominently in it.
There are 2 episodes set in Reno.
And at some point, Wade is... The climax is going to be that Wade has a Mazinger Z-esque rocket fist that he is going to shoot at some point. So, quite honestly...
Spitfires? Is that what you're telling me?
He has some sort of... I don't think it is his flesh and blood fist. I think he has some sort of weapon that fires a rocket fist. But it's a dang Mazinger Z rocket fist that he fires. And basically, they defeat the robot. That's kind of all we got for now. It's kind of what we got for now. So, based on this, my feelings are... I don't think like it tells me nothing I really need to hear about Shadow as the series, and like it doesn't address any of the concerns that I might have had about that. I might have to watch Knuckles. I might have to watch Knuckles. I'm not committing to the movie, but I will give Knuckles a chance.
GX, you were on Sonic Talk. You have to do the movie.
Oh, I absolutely don't have to do the movie, and you know very well that you cannot make me. You lack that power.
I've got chloroform, GX. I've got chloroform in a car.
Well, you've heard him. If the police are listening, I believe this is admittable. I believe this is all admittable.
I'm joking. CIA people listening on the line. I'm joking.
But yeah, it seems interesting. It seems like they have some ideas on what to do with this. I'm like I said, I am more interested in Knuckles now than I certainly would have been. Honestly, I think the idea of Knuckles and Wade going on strange misadventures sounds fun to me. More than, you know, much of the other stuff that they've done in both of those movies.
Of course, we both wanted them to do like a Sonic Adventure adaptation, but that's pretty clearly not what they're doing, and this stuff is even remotely accurate.
I mean, it seems like whatever they're doing might actually play into the third movie, because if Black Arms is involved, that might play into that, which, you know, it's going to be Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
So less exciting than the storyboards, but I want to say this in the spoiler zone, is, as we alluded to a bit earlier, we did get episode titles for all 6 of the Knuckles episodes. They are The Warrior, Don't Ever Say I Wasn't There For You, The Shabbat Dinner, The Flames of Disaster, Reno, Baby, and What Happens in Reno Stays in Reno. Now, one of my early theories when I first saw this was the Flames of Disaster is Knuckles and Wade burning the Shabbat dinner or something, because you have a bunch of angry kids.
Like it could be anything from like, hey, Knuckles gets a new ability, to Knuckles to basically like Wade's gonna be the type of person who's going to give him a weird nickname. Like it could very well be that. And
oh god, because he's red. And because he's red and he's a disaster, Flames of Disaster. But as a Jew, the Shabbat dinner stood out to me because it's like I am not a Orthodox Jew. I am a very I'm very casual Jew, but so like my family, we never did Shabbat dinner, but it's like this major meal that you have at the beginning of Shabbat, or Sabbath, as you may know it, on Friday night, and like you can't, Orthodox Jews cannot like cook or do a variety of actions, including work and drive, over Shabbat, and so like you have to like do things like prepare dinner in a very specific way at a very specific time before sundown, but regardless, so like I don't know. What I'm wondering about is like, why are they at a Shabbat dinner? Is Wade Whipple Jewish?
probably.
Like I don't know. Like that'd be a bit of a twist for me.
But would it be that big of a twist? We know little about him other than he's the weird sidekick.
Like I don't know. Like maybe you know I watched too many Mel Brooks movies and stuff, but he just didn't come off.
As we know, it's very rare for someone of the Jewish faith or heritage to appear in the entertainment industry. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
Jews are supposed to be funny. Wade Whipple isn't funny, so
yes, he is the comic relief, sir.
Yes, and it's bad comic relief.
Yeah, but okay. I mean, if you just want me to come out and say I don't think the movies are good, you're just kiting me to do that.
But regardless, like I don't know. I guess like what I find most interesting is that like between this and the Knuckles comic book, we now have 2 Knuckles things that are connected to Judaism in some way. And as a big Knuckles fan, that does make me happy.
I will say this: I don't hate Wade. I think, and I'm not just saying that because we discussed his faith, but I am saying that because I think for the world that they created for the Sonic movie, he makes sense in it.
Yeah.
In the gaggle of weirdos in Green Hill.
And I guess another thing we can say is that this does, because you're doing something like a Shabbat dinner, it does seem like they're going to be, this is going to be like a kind of a more casual show. You know, it's not going to be like something
Well, I
where a
mean,
lot of action
it'll probably build to
development.
something. It's probably going to build enough to like there being a fight with a robot suit
Yeah.
in Reno.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
I think that does it for the spoiler zone.
Spoiler zone is over. If you were muted, you are safe to listen now.
Yeah, get and take down the image thing or
I did.
whatever. Because
I'm on top of things.
the next thing, I guess my stream is behind. So the next thing is still related to the show because so Knuckles will be spotlighted at Paramount Plus's The Logs Traveling event, which starts early next month. And in addition to that, Tika Sumter says that we will be hearing about the Knuckles series and Sonic 3 very soon. Which, like, I would hope since Knuckles was supposed to come out last year. So I do think that news. So it does sound like news for both of these is probably imminent. Like,
you would hope. You'd hope.
Like, I would not be surprised if we got more. If we got like actual Knuckles news in the next week or two. Like, could very well be tomorrow, which would be very annoying for me.
Oh, it'll happen at the State of Play. the new announcement there, the new content in this supposed Sonic Generations remaster or remake or whatever is that it will include the trailer for the Knuckles series. That's the only new inclusion.
Well, like expand enough that State of Play is going to have Generations news, but if it did actually like have more than that, it gets very annoyed. But regardless, so like we can, if I had to guess, I think we're going to be getting Knuckles in the spring.
That seems reasonable. Honestly, either that or like I could see them like waiting until summer. That way, like it's just at least a little bit closer to the build up to the next movie.
Yeah, so yeah, it's certainly possible. But originally they wanted to have like a year between the show and the movie. So
no, fair.
There was probably an argument for spacing things out as well. I figure the only reason why we haven't gotten Knuckles already is because of the strikes causing companies to delay a lot of their content to fill in holes.
Which we knew which we at least knew Sonic 3 was affected by.
Well, Sonic 3 hasn't been delayed.
It hasn't been delayed, but it has been affected by it.
Yeah, they could not shoot the actors until like months after they were planning to start. But they could do special effects related stuff, so that's probably the only reason why it didn't get delayed.
Right.
Right.
But so very soon, fingers crossed. Now, this next story is something that I'm very happy we finally gotten clarification on, because one thing that has always annoyed me is how people talk about Pontic and Graf and their scripts. Because, like, my feeling has always been that they never had much control and that people, like, are blaming them for things that Sega and Sonic Team wanted to do, which was always at least somewhat evident because even Sonic Colors was based off of, like, Sonic Team ideas and scripts, so how much really
right. Look, man. Say if Sega wasn't going to go to them and say, "We want you to come up with an idea for a style and aesthetic of gameplay," and they didn't turn around and say, "Outer Space Amusement Park." No. They said, "Hey, we got a script for a Sonic game for an Outer Space Amusement Park. We need it localized." And that's what their job was.
Like, technically, they did come up with the idea with the story for Lost World. Like, that was something they originated. But regardless, according to Graf on Twitter, Sega gave them Sega and Sonic Team gave them constant notes, loads of notes. Everything they wrote, Sega and Sonic Team had a say on.
Right. Which, we're used to them doing that through everything that Ian Flynn has described, through the process of writing the comic and writing, well, air quotes, writing Frontiers.
Like anyone who has been paying attention to Archie and IDW for the past 2 decades knows that Sega approves everything. That, there is no, just slipping something past Sega. No, that you send it to them, they read it, they either give you notes, approve it, or reject it. That is what they do, and that is clearly, and that is what Kraft has finally confirmed went on with the games. So Kraft specifically said, every word we wrote, every character trait, every story point was given to us by them.
At the end of the day, it's worth mentioning that, yeah, I think that that some of the jokes in there are somewhere between cornball and bad, but also keep in mind, Sega looked at that cornball bad joke and said, yeah, this is good, put it in the final game.
I mean, let's be clear here. Sonic games have never had good writing. The closest it ever got before Ian Flynn came along was Unleashed and Black Knight, which I think are passable. They're solid. But everything else, like Sonic Adventure, Sonic's first line to Sonic is, "Oh look, it's a giant talking egg," which is the dorkiest insult you could say to your big bad villain.
I mean, combine that with the way that it was dubbed, where everything is like a separate line that feels like it was recorded 2 days apart from each other.
Yeah, there's also that voice acting was not great for the most part. But regardless, Sega approved everything as well. That is also true. And so, at some point, you have to, just blame Sega and Sonic Team and just accept that version of Sonic that you insist isn't the real Sonic was a Sonic that Sonic Team and Sega approved of, because so far as they were concerned, that was Sonic. And as far as I'm concerned, that's also Sonic, because Sonic is just a vague collection of character traits that shifts between
Sonic is Sonic.
So I'm gonna take this as an opportunity to push my own agenda, and my own agenda is stop calling it Fourth Wall Sonic or Self-Aware Sonic or the Meta Era, which is a really bad dumb name.
People have not heard that in a couple years.
We need to start calling it postmodern Sonic. We have classic Sonic, we have modern Sonic, and we have postmodern Sonic.
And how is Sonic postmodern?
It's self-aware and meta.
I mean, I don't really think it's any more self-aware and meta than the older iteration.
No, it's not. Look, we had frickin' Sonic smirk at the camera while he was running up to the president's limo. You can joke about oh, well, maybe he's looking in. No, he was smirking at the camera because he's freaking Sonic. He's going to smirk at the camera. They had that goofball scene where Knuckles can't drive the spaceship, so they crash at it and everyone screams. Sonic has always been weird and goofball and corny.
Yes.
This isn't a new thing.
When it gets to do that, but also manages to be funny, which that's what's so great about Ian Flynn, is that he is very funny. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, he writes Sonic banter like it's, a comic book.
Yep.
Sonic is Spider-Man.
Anyway, so
right.
Stop blaming Pontic and Graff for stuff. Pontic has been very openly said a couple years ago he is never going to a Sonic convention because of some of the abuse he got from the fan base. Which,
and to be fair, the
fan base has bad eggs, and
and to be fair, this is why the the IDW comic is a little more dry than the Archie was during its final 10 years. And that's because everything has to go through Sega, so we don't get as
more control now.
So we don't get as many epic stories. I mean, I wish they'd still at least use the lands and areas that they've already established in the games more. But I mean, that's
you
why
can have Spagonia, but it
it's
has
a
to be
little
before.
dry in certain points. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, as you could probably tell, I got something off my chest with this one.
Look,
So,
I mean, my
okay.
attitude is not it's not their fault in order to, you know, how you respond to them or treat them. My
Yeah,
attitude is these are human beings. Be a freaking person, please. Have some
that
goddamn consideration. They did not ruin your cartoon.
and to be clear, that was my reaction when I heard that Pontic and Graf said he was never going to go to a Sonic convention.
You know what?
Because,
He's probably
yeah,
right to do so.
Yeah.
Because guess what? The community is not going to be polite to him. Be polite to people, even if you don't like their stuff. This might be an attitude that comes up later, but sure.
Like, y'all are lucky Ian Flynn is so patient. Like, he
has infinite
so
patience.
patient.
That man responds to questions on his podcast. He has all of the patience in the world.
So, speaking of Flynn, let's move on to the next topic, which is, for me, a bit of a sad one, even though I'm not a huge fan of this show. Flynn has confirmed that most of Sonic X is off the table, which makes me sad specifically because I think that every aspect of the Sonic IP should be on the table.
Well, I mean, that's
including stuff like Sonic X.
That's what Flynn has basically made it his life work to do. Like, it's what he started to do with Archie, because Archie started to get all these Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog characters reinterpreted in weird ways in the final thing.
Yeah.
So okay. Sonic comes in. Sonic has to please multiple masters, and it comes with an understanding that yes, Sonic is a series that has a narrative, or that wants to have a narrative, or that claims it has a narrative to varying degrees of success. But also, Sonic has to be a brand. Sonic has to be a mascot. Sonic has to represent Sega. And while, yes, I am also of the camp that, like, put everything in everything, because I think that's funny, and I think it's entertaining, and I think it's colorful, and I think the Sonic extended legacy is cool in its scope. It's one of the things I like most about it, is like, hey, it's been around forever and it has done a lot of weird stuff. But if I am managing a brand, if I am managing a character that has to represent my company, and for the most part, its most, you know, popular outing right now is a set of Paramount movies, I get the argument that you want to manage the brand in certain ways. That, like, hey, there is a reason to not necessarily dwell too hard on the old stuff whenever we're trying to get all these new fans.
Well, I think that IDW Sonic is proof that at the moment the brand is overmanaged, if anything, but regardless.
Oh, absolutely. I will agree with that entirely. Yeah. But also, you also can't just not manage. If you don't manage, it's how you get it's how you get Archie in general. And I love Archie. I love Archie for being weird and colorful and sort of willing to do things that the main series doesn't do. But Sonic isn't in that phase of its lifespan anymore. I don't think it has the same kind of luxuries as a series that it once did. Because it is
a brand while still letting your like your long-time reliable writer do something like work characters from a very game-centric cartoon into your very game-centric comics. Like, there's no good reason to keep stuff like, okay, so let's discuss how this even came about. Ian Flynn wanted to essentially do a Meta-Rex adaptation in IDW. Basically, canonize the Meta-Rex and Cosmo within the game universe, which is something that he could do very well. Like he's done this before. He could do it. He could do it again with this. Like he's on record as not being an especially big fan of Sonic X. And well, okay, or at least wasn't a big fan. He does not like Chris, and he does not like, and he thinks season 3 is too dark, tonally compared to everything else.
I agree
And
with
so,
both of those points.
He just wanted to bring Meta X into the game, into the comics as an
For flavor.
adaptation.
For
And
flavor.
I think that would have been very interesting.
Yeah.
Like I think that would have given IDW an injection of life that it's kind of been feeling like it needs lately, and it sucks that that's just not possible.
It's basically, by his words, it sounds like the decision to nix this comes pretty high up. That it seems like Sega just does not have the stomach to, bring this kind of stuff back. And like we're used to being told this through Flynn multiple times in regard to stuff like Infinite or
The
human
fighters.
Pardon? Well, the
Freedom
Freedom Fighters, yeah. Though the Freedom Fighters have their own complications, but like, stuff like I'm drawing a blank right now. I know there's stuff crammed in my head that I'm trying to shake loose that I cannot. But I'm also I think I'm thinking of like jeez. Keep going. Help me out. Anyway, I'm flailing here.
What Flynn specifically said was, who I talked to and what they said made it very clear that it's just not on the table.
Human beings in the series. That's who I'm thinking of.
At a level of management I cannot even conceive of. So like someone very high up doesn't want this to happen, and they either have to leave or change their mind. Like, we don't know who. I'm hoping it's not Takashi Iizuka. But yeah, so at least for the foreseeable future, it really just feels like everything to do with Sonic's legacy outside of IDW and the games and Styx from Sonic Boom, I guess, is the exception, just can't be touched, and Sonic X is included in that. Now, he learned this second thing, that the extent to which Sonic X is off the table, from a separate pitch that he did not go into. So I'm guessing that like he had some other idea that was going to touch on some Sonic X content in some way. I hope that eventually this changes, like I hope that one day the older Sonic media is kind of allowed to be relevant again, but until then, at least we still have that older Sonic media, I guess. And
I think I don't love every reuse, but I think my favorite reuse is the way in late Archie. This, not a lot of, like, I can live with, hey, the death of Archie. I can deal with that. Not the literal death of Archie, which Archie has died many times in many comics, but the death of Archie Sonic. The thing that probably hurts me most is they made me care about Silver, which it is you have to, it is a Sisyphean task to make me think of Silver as anything but the wiener version of Future Trunks. But they did it, and they in part did it by including Professor von Schlemmer from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog as a recurring character, and it was so good. It was so good.
As I recall, that was an Evan Stanley story, right? It was either Stanley or Yardley.
I forget which one of the two it was, but you're probably right. I like this stuff, but like at the same time, it's trying to balance. Like, the problem is when you say things like there is just the canon and the canon is the canon, whether or not like it actually means anything or not, it does mean that they can't spin off in the same way that they previously did. Like, we are firmly out of that time, and since Sonic just has to wear both the story hat and the business hat, those hats kind of conflict. I get the logic of not wanting to go back to Sonic X. Sonic X is old as hell. But yeah, I'm still on the side of, yeah, but you should be allowed to do it.
I guess I do think it's good that they have taken some time to set the brand on a certain track.
Yeah,
Say it okay, this is core Sonic, this is its identity. But I feel like we've done that. That's been done. We've
yeah,
got a couple games in that vein now. Sonic Boom is way in the rear view. Archie is way in the rear view. It's time to let things branch out again. So I'm hoping, so hopefully
probably.
that we're not going
Yeah.
to be in this for
I
too long.
yeah, if we want a silver lining this, and yeah, I'll give you a silver lining. Someone responded to this saying Sega doesn't care. All they care about is delivering edicts from on high. And my response to that is actually the fact that they do this means they care more than they have in many previous years. Like, this kind of shows the
Archie
degree to that
Right.
which they do care. They
Archie
might
never
not
had
care
to,
about what you care about, but they do care about the Sonic series.
Archie was under Sega's what's management or whatever for Sonic, but they never had to send scripts to Sonic Team. Now Sonic Team is directly going over comic scripts and stuff, so they do clearly care, if nothing else.
Yeah, like I said, you may disagree with their you may disagree with what they feel they should, or with what they feel like they should prioritize, and many people do. But you can't say that they don't care about the future direction of the series, because every indication suggests that yeah, they care quite a lot.
So we've got we've got a new rumor for a Sonic mobile game coming this year. From Twitter user MBKKSSTBHZ5. Yeah, I was not
RAGGMOPP.
pronounce that all. But and as I understand it, he's leaked things in the past, like Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Tactica. So he has a track record.
Now, I will also highlight that at the recent Rovio, sort of, we'll say Sega Rovio partnership in some sort of Rovio convention thing, they talked to Sega and they indicated, yeah, we got Sonic projects in the hopper. Like, we're still trying to figure things out, but we got Sonic projects in the hopper.
And it's supposed to be a game that plays similar to Fall Guys, which, I'm just kind of picturing Sonic R through obstacle courses where, I guess characters can, get knocked down by things or something.
So okay, yeah, I am wary of taking this literally. I don't think, maybe it's like that. Who knows? It could be like that. But I'm more inclined to say that the appeal of Fall Guys is clumsy, frantic action. And you absolutely could do that in a Sonic context without, just ripping off Fall Guys.
Yeah. Alternatively, it could just mean it's a 3D platforming foot race.
Yeah, it could certainly be that as well. But I think we
all... Now that, Sega has Rovio, it would be foolish not to do some kind of mobile game with them now.
Yeah, probably. But I think we all know what this actually means, and it means that coming soon, Sonic QWOP. Multiplayer, 99 Sonics drop onto an island. Only one of them can walk 2 steps before falling over.
They just need to bite the bullet and just make their own Sonic Fortnite game. Since clearly Sonic is never coming to Fortnite, despite the fact that I've now predicted that multiple times in a row.
He's not, though, because you have to have a specific size for...
Yeah, but look what they did to Peter Griffin and Optimus Prime.
Exactly.
That's not a barrier.
Yeah, it looks terrible.
Sonic. He's lanky. He's tall.
It's just put Jim Carrey Robotnik. Like that's what you get for it.
I'm surprised you haven't suggested this. Sonic Man.
Sonic Man, look, man. Sonic Man, despite my feelings about Phantasy Star Online 2, we all know that Sonic Man is a hero that will not use guns. He has to stand by his moral convictions, and he does not use guns.
Huh, was that actually in Sonic 06? Or are you just making something up?
Yes.
What?
Sure. Both. Yes to both. Right now. Yes to both.
All right. So moving on to one. I think this is the last piece of Sonic movie news that we've got on the docket, and that is Paramount is rumored to be looking into a Shadow spinoff, which does not surprise me at all, given that we have a Knuckles series coming this year. Like, yeah, this was rumored by, I think this was posted by a very reliable leaker on his Patreon. I think his name is Daniel RPK. Yeah, Daniel RPK. He hasn't posted much, just that there's going to be some kind of Shadow spinoff, either a show or a movie.
Or at least they're in talks to do so.
Yeah.
Which,
now
yeah,
that does kind of tell me that Shadow is probably going to be some kind of celebrity voice actor, like I think
Idris Elba. Just both of them be voiced by Idris Elba. That'd be great.
And there's like this weird, I think, meme rumor on Twitter. Lots of people were talking about like it was somewhat reliable, but I didn't.
Look, it's Twitter. You can't pick apart what's real and what's an S post.
Yeah, and like they're still saying like Hayden Christensen might be, Shadow.
So like,
but so there's no actual proof of it so far.
Yeah, but like, if I'm to be pressed for a Shadow celebrity,
Julia White is Shadow the Hedgehog. You'd watch it. Don't lie to me.
A very, very popular pick, I will admit, but I think this is the thing I said like a couple years ago. Keanu Reeves, just like he does like the dark, moody voice. He can do that, so just have him do Shadow. Like it'll work. And he could probably carry a show. Like heck, John Wick is getting a spin-off series.
And hey, he uses guns in that.
Yeah, true. So like we can like have Shadow doing some gun fu, some PG gun fu. Although speaking of ratings, we actually did get a rating for the Sonic 3 movie out of Slovakia at the PG 15, which is like I've considered reporting on it, but when I was looking at the like comparing ratings, like there's no consistency between other countries' ratings and our own. So like, I'm sure Sonic 3 is still going to be PG, but a PG-13 Sonic 3 would be interesting.
It would.
Well, probably totally weird. But I mean, they definitely get the gun down Maria in that one. So
okay. I have a pitch.
Okay, go on.
I have a pitch. Now, just go with me on this. What if Nicolas Cage as Shadow?
Yeah, that'd probably work. He's got the tone. I mean, he'd have to be a goofier Shadow. Like
yes, please.
Can do more serious roles, but I'm sure you're thinking of this for like the cheese factor.
Why can't it be both? Can't I enjoy it on both ends of the spectrum?
Like, I mean, like Sonic 3 probably can't play Shadow completely straight, can it? Because like that.
No, it's a Paramount series. Like,
yeah, like Knuckles, he is the straight man, but that's part of the joke. Is that he is very serious and doesn't like,
trust me. I knew when I said that it would be like, but actually.
But yeah, that would work. And I think at least Nicolas Cage has enough meme popularity that it would probably.
Oh, the kids love Nicolas Cage. All the kids are all about Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, probably be at least as big a celebrity as Jim Carrey, I guess, and probably less annoying. So this next thing is more y'all's department, but we're getting more Lego sets this summer, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
a
still
rumor,
haven't put together my Shadow or Knuckles and Rouge sets.
I have put together the Shadow, and I have done it on our YouTube channel, so go ahead and check out our new YouTube shorts.
If this rumor is right, though, we are going to be getting Super Lego Sonic.
Indeed. We are looking at three upcoming sets, possibly 4, based on other rumors stated. One of them is going to be Knuckles and the Master. One of them is titled Knuckles and the Master Emerald. It's a $50 set, which is weird because the Knuckles set that they have out, the weird mech suit one, actually comes with a Master Emerald. So I don't know.
This one is the one that I was hoping for, and actually has the Master Emerald altar.
Maybe, but the Master Emerald that the mech suit comes with is actually kind of great because you can open up, and inside are tiny emerald shards. So it's like if you wanted to Sonic Adventure 2 it, or Sonic Adventure 1 it, it'd be something you could do.
Yeah, hide the shards around the house, and then have your sibling or, I don't know, friend go look for them.
I am very curious about $60 set Tails Adventure Boat. There's a lot of ways that this could go, but my hope, and it might be naive of me to hope this, but my thought process is, okay, if I were going to name a set Tails' Adventure Boat, then I would use the boat from Tails' Adventure, which is the iconic blue and yellow boat with the drill tip. I don't know if it's going to be that, but I think that would be very fitting if I was naming my set Tails' Adventure Boat.
I would be shocked if this referenced Tails' Adventure in any way.
Well, look,
if I had to guess, it'd be just a yellow boat that has some, I don't know, adventure.
Well, I mean, the Sea Fox was in more than one game, and more importantly, the Sea Fox is effectively the body design for the Sonic Adventure 2 Cyclone/Tornado 2.
Huh, I never noticed that, but I guess you're right.
Yeah, it's same body type. It looks like that, but with wings grafted on. And
well, I mean, I hope you're right, because that would tempt me, but I don't think you are.
look, I'm hopeful. I also don't think I am, but at the same time, hey, it's what we got to go on for now. I think it'd be cool if it was, and they sure have. It's otherwise unusual for them to name it that way without it being something, because it's not like the Sonic series has a lot of boats. Many of those boats are associated with the Sonic Rush Adventure game. But generally speaking, there ain't a lot of boats in Sonic.
I mean, I don't know. We were talking about the same line of toys that gave Knuckles a mech suit because they...
Yeah, like in the games. His trademark mech suit, Alex. We all know of the mech suit, and what are we playing a different series here? What are you even talking about? And then also it looks like there's going to be a $100 set which might contain a minifig of Supersonic. It's called Supersonic versus Egg Drillster, which by the way, Egg Drillster, if you don't remember, is the first boss of Sonic 2. So I don't think Supersonic needs to fight that one, but I don't know.
Someone used some cheat codes for that one.
No, okay. I looked at the maps for this article because I'm a journalist. And there are enough star posts that you could get all 7 emeralds in Emerald Hill if you are so inclined.
I admit I did cheese that a bit when I got all the emeralds in Sonic 2, but I still took until Chemical Plant, I think.
Oh yeah, those special stages are a pain in the butt. Reproducing results over and over again is a challenge for that game. But yeah, it looks neat. Apparently, there may also be a September set that will be another 18 plus set, not because of pornographic content, but because of just general complexity.
So
So
is the Supersonic set not an 18 plus set?
no, it's gonna be in the same line as the other ones.
Okay, so it's $100 Lego set, but for children.
Look, a lot of $100 Lego sets are primarily for children. It's just the pricing of Legos. We all understand this in the Lego community.
Well, I don't. But okay, so continuing with the toys that I don't really care that much about, the Caterpillar might be getting its first ever toy from what are they called? Jack Specific? Yeah, Jack Specific. And that one was leaked along with a bunch of other toys, but like Caterpillar is the one that matters because, like, again, like I said, it's the first Caterpillar toy. Like, they are just making toys out of bagnicks now, which I just find fascinating.
Yeah, I mean,
well, it seems like it's only in the 2-inch line they ever do that.
Like,
and I find it weird that it's pink. Like, when I think of Caterpillar, I think of like the iconic sort of, I think it's like dark blue or purple or something. It's strange that it's pink to me.
Purple.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it looks like there's going to be a couple reprints. There's going to be Sonic Ray in different poses. There's going to be a 2-inch Vector, which is weird.
Yeah, he's only slightly taller than Rouge from the looks of it. Just odd. Now, fun fact, I just bought a Ray figure that was being sold at a Walmart cash register. Now, it was $5, and if I knew it was $5, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I assumed it's there, it's small. It must be just like a couple dollars, but no. But yeah, so like
here you are.
Yeah, they are.
And here you are judging me for my $100 Lego set, Mr. Big Spender.
Sonic is just so mainstream now that you can just go to a Target or
$5 isn't much for a toy, really, and that's in the impulse buy section.
I guess, but regardless, like, you can just go to a Target or a Walmart now and just buy a toy of Ray the Squirrel or Mephiles off the shelf. And like Mephiles especially,
I hate to admit it, but I just got a Mephiles a few days ago.
Like, these kids are getting this uber dark character that impaled Sonic from this game that's been out of print for at least a decade and came out like 18 years ago. That's insane. But that's just how mainstream Sonic is now. So okay. So
he also had his own tech deck, believe it or not.
What now?
Oh, Mephiles. He also had his own tech deck at one time.
Weird.
That's the only Mephiles merchandise I can think of is the action figure and the tech deck.
Oh, is that little skateboard thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Little finger skateboard thing.
People like Mephiles. People feel strongly about Mephiles, and I will never be able to relate to those people.
I don't know. I do too. I own a plush of him. I'm gonna own a toy.
Do you own a plush of him authentically, or or is that for ironic enjoyment?
I guess there's 3 different pieces of merchandise of him.
I got him right after I got Infinite. Yeah, I got my Dark Boys.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of like the degree of like, oh, you remember whenever it was the Game Awards fan vote and the bile that the Sonic fan community did as they were tripping over their own feet trying to, manipulate votes, whereas something as stupid as what's the next Sonic Channel art? Could it be Sonic Man or could it be Mephiles? And the degree to which people feel strongly about that. Now, I feel strongly about that, but it comes with the understanding that I think they're both bad characters. The difference is one of them is funny, and the other one is a middle schooler's vision of what evil Sonic looks like.
But regardless, for me,
well, in this case, it's a evil shadow.
at least part of the reason why I get like
Is
stuff
already
like
evil
the Mephiles
in his own way.
plush is that there's just novelty in having this obscure Sonic character that you never thought would get merchandise. Like throughout my entire childhood, Sonic merchandise was scarce, and it was rare for any character other than Sonic to get it. And so to just have all of this stuff now for all these other characters is just so cool for me. I'm living out my childhood dream. If only they would do the Freedom Fighters. Grr. But regardless, so as we know, Sonic Superstars didn't do too hot in Japan. It like I think sold what 4,000 units and then gets dropped off the map. But in America, it's been doing good. It placed 9th in October, 13th in November, and now we've got the December charts where it went from 13th to 12th. Now we don't know how many copies that is, but this is these games are ranked by how many dollars they made, and so like this game was like it was on sale and it was not as expensive as some like the $70 blockbusters for some of the other for some of the from some of the other publishers, but it still placed pretty respectfully, and it's been charting consistently. So at the very least in the US, it's doing good.
Yeah. I mean, it's doing fine. It's certain, like, we're talking 12th, so it's at least consistent. We can't say it's lighting up the charts, but
yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it's the abject failure that it was in Japan and would be suggested by releasing at the same time that a new 2D Mario game was coming out, as well as PlayStation's most anticipated game of the year.
We've said it a million times. Yeah. It was just the poorest timing to put that game out. Plus, like I said, the price is just a little too high for that.
The lukewarm reception to it. The at the very least, hey, you know what? They put it on sale a bunch of times between then, so it probably at least juiced it a bit. But
regardless, like Sonic games didn't used to shark like this. Like
the problem with also putting out a game in October is there's always those Black Friday sales, and
no, I think they like that.
All the person has to do is wait a month, and then bam.
Jason, I think that's the plan. I think the plan is you put it out at full price, you get idiots like us to buy it, and then you put it on sale for what you actually want to sell it for.
Yeah, like on Steam right now, it's $30. And I'm very tempted to pick it up.
That game for $30 is probably okay.
That's a good price for it. That's a decent price.
But regardless, so I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, it sold copies. We didn't think it might, but against all odds, someone somewhere has bought a copy.
Now I remember what I was going to say. Like, it's not surprising that Crash and Burn in Japan, because Sonic isn't popular there. Sega tried. They're probably going to keep trying.
It didn't have the same marketing as Frontiers. Like, Frontiers had very clear marketing push in Japan, and it was, for what it's worth, it looked like it was going to be. They were making a big game. And that has some muscle to it. Whereas, despite the fact that we are all like, hey, old men who enjoy old video games, Sonic Superstars just wasn't going to have the same, type of appeal that a Frontiers was going to have in the broader marketplace.
But like it's pretty clear Sega's trying to push Sonic, the Sonic brand there now. Like, they recently released the adventure games on Steam there, so we'll see where things go. But regardless, speaking of Japanese media, Sonic and Friends has broken free of the confines of TikTok and has headed for YouTube in its first compilation video, which I watched. And it was like a minute and a half long, and it was like 4 little mini episodes, and it was cute enough.
It was cute. It's like, hey, here's Sonic for preschoolers. We don't know why preschoolers are using TikTok, but if you have your preschooler using TikTok, here's preschool content for your TikTok.
And it's like, it was a very simple story. Sonic, Tails, and Amy go to a tropical island. They get coconuts. They set up a little tent. They drink coconuts. Oh,
And
wait, no. Sorry, they make smoothies. They make fruit smoothies. And then Dr. Robotnik comes, and then he drinks their gigantic fruit smoothie. Because, it was like a giant fruit smoothie blender. And he comes and he drinks it, and
the
then
details aren't hard. This is not a complex plot, man. You don't have to correct yourself.
You know what? I'll say I was a little surprised because I didn't see these ones on Twitter. I've only seen the ones where they're just dancing.
Yeah, they still have a
while.
Yeah,
For a while I thought that's all it was.
They do have a lot of those on TikTok where it's just, hey, we put this on.
This is the first one I saw that had actually any kind of actual story to it, if you can call it that.
Yeah,
but,
most
Knuckles
of it
wasn't featured. He's in the next one.
Yeah, it's weird because Knuckles is in the thumbnail. He's not in the episode.
He's not in the video.
He's in some of like the weird dancing ones, but he's not in the one where he is in the thumbnail for.
Well, you see, the canon is that Knuckles is off busy guarding the Master Emerald, and so they can only feature him when they feature the Master Emerald.
That's true. I didn't consider the how Sonic and Friends applies to the canon. That's my fault. I apologize. I should have been.
I forget. I think Flynn may have said it's not canon, which, duh. But I don't know.
I like how we have to clarify everything now for weirdo Sonic fans. Is like, is this part of the kid? Now he might have said that as a joke, knowing that like someone somewhere might ask about it. But
I'm pretty sure it was an answer to a question. I'm pretty sure someone asked this. So
look, Sonic and Tails dancing to this Hatsune Miku song is important to the canon. If you don't watch it, you're not going to understand the next major 3D game. It's important.
So, moving on to our final big two news stories before we go on to our final Sonic Prime discussion.
First one, I'm just hearing of.
Unfortunately. So, Penders is reprinting Archie Sonic stories, specifically Mobius 25 years later. And the cover.
Can't wait to see the cease and desist.
Okay. So let's get through the details first, because we're all going to have opinions.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going through the details.
Am I going through the details? I can go through the details. I wrote the story.
I thought you were about to go through the details, but
one of us needs to.
Ken Penders is reprinting his 14 Mobius 25 years later stories in a hardcover graphic novel. This is something he's been talking about for a while.
Now,
I closed my eyes when I first heard it because I thought he keeps talking about this stuff, but he rarely ever seems to follow through. But this apparently he's doing. He put it up for pre-order. He's gonna print 2,000 copies, and like it's got this ugliest thing cover using his like really ugly Laura Sue Chronicles cover.
Oh god, it's so ugly.
So it's a combination of the Laura Sue cover. Yeah, it's a combination of his Laura Sue cover, Laura Sue Chronicles aesthetic characters, which look ugly as sin, but then also he has retraced the cover of Sonic 131, which sort of kicks off the Mobius 25 years later storyline. But also, like he did a bad job retracing them, even though he is technically credited as co-artist on that cover alongside Spaz, but it's very clear on the art of the cover who the actual artist was.
Yes, it was.
There's also some weird stuff here about just like, obviously there's legal confusion on, well, there's legal ambiguity, we will say, to be very safe as to if he is allowed to do this. It is my personal and not legal opinion that he probably isn't. That he probably is not allowed to do this.
He himself has said that he cannot do stuff with the Sega cast. He said this in the past. So like and so that was why characters like Knuckles and Sonic were not going to be featured in his Laura Sue Chronicles continuation, which has been in production for over a decade now. It's only produced a couple of these posters and stuff.
Well, of course, it's a lot easier for him to just print up a bunch of reprints of issues
Like,
and then put them in a hardcover. Which he probably doesn't legally own the rights to.
The final page is apparently original, and it's meant to like lead into future Laura Sue Chronicles stories. Now, as I understand it, like he does not like wholly own these characters. Like even like the lawsuit is very confusing, but I think he only partially owns even the original characters.
Both parties would probably have to authorize any official Archie reprints. Possibly up to 3 parties. I don't know if Archie would even have any say at this point if Sega decided they wanted to, but now, obviously there's more than one person who has to be involved.
On Twitter, Pandamus sent me something from Ken Pender's Discord that does like shed some light on at least his line of thinking in all this. This is from December 31st, 2020. And essentially what he seems to be thinking is that the longer he says he's already been like selling stuff.
Oh yeah, he does this at cons. Well, and also
he just sells merch for a book that doesn't exist and probably won't exist.
Well, not only that, but I believe, according to many people on our Discord who, are mods and stuff for the site.
Check out my app. Look at the stuff on my app. I got 3 pages on my app.
No, but it sounds like he's actually selling Archie reprints at conventions and stuff.
Really?
That's my understanding. That's what I am hearing from people in our mod community.
Interesting. But okay, so basically his line of thinking is that the longer he makes money off of this stuff without Sega taking action against it and suing him, the less of a case Sega will have. And basically his line of thinking is like, hey, if I keep doing this, like it will eventually come to a point where Sega abandons the copyright.
Well, there's one of 2 possibilities here. Possibility 1 is that he actually gets some meaningful legal ruling with something being put out. To some degree, it behooves him, if he thinks he has a real case to reprint these stories, to be able to put it in front of a judge and have Sega provoke something, which they really clearly do not want to do. And the other...
Not yet.
No, and the other half of it is, or the other possible outcome is, Sega doesn't care and doesn't want to deal with it, and I don't necessarily think that obviously I don't think you think that line of thinking is sound either, but there is some legal argument you could make, but I think at that point you're also arguing that, I don't know, they're not protecting Sonic the icon at that point, and I don't know if that holds water.
It doesn't, because people have been making money off of things like Sonic for decades. Like, this isn't new. You go to any fan convention, you can buy unofficial Sonic merch. Now, his specific arguments was that basically, he references Josie and the Pussycats and Dan DeCarlo, and basically how he did not try to get the Pussycats back from Archie for a while, and that's how he lost his case. And I don't know anything about that. But the other reference he makes is that this is why the Fleischer Superman cartoons are public domain, because DC did not go out of their way to protect them, and therefore they lost the copyright. Which is not what happened to those cartoons. What happened to those cartoons was that National Comics failed to refile for their copyright, which is a thing you had to do before 1992, and that is why there are lots of works in the public domain made before 1964
Exactly.
because they did not refile for copyrights. But that is not something Sega has to do. And so, like, if you're like his legal, like, just going by what I'm reading here, like, it doesn't really sound like he knows what he's talking about.
No, probably not. So, I have a thing to say, but I want to give everyone else a chance to say something because I might blow up feelings on the internet about what I'm going to suggest.
I mean, at this point, I've stopped. I've muted him off of Twitter and everything, but I think he's left Twitter anyway.
He left Twitter.
Because it was, I was just giving myself aggravation just looking at his tweets for the time, because
my anger. Sorry.
I'm at peace with it. I mean, if he wants to go for it, go for it. But I do not believe he's gonna be able to succeed in this. But who knows?
Like,
he might be able. He might be able to sell some copies before it finally gets a big cease and desist.
I think so I got my anger with Penders like out on older episodes of this show like a decade ago. Like, y'all remember that. Like, I think I probably cursed a few times. I was very, very annoyed back then. But I'm more mature now, and so now it's just like I roll my eyes and I sigh. But like, I think that if he does get away with it, he's just gonna get away with it because Sega is generally apathetic about this stuff. Like, unless you are making a lot of money off of their IP, they are not going to care. Like, we had the whole Sonic Omens controversy a few years ago where they had a Patreon.
Look, they
can probably think this is.
They can.
Do you think this is a?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said they have a lot of power to be able to say that no, we are not aware of this thing going on. If we were aware of it, we might do something about it. But generally speaking, they're pretty good at not being aware of things. We will say with the heaviest sneer quotes.
Yeah. But it's like, and so Sonic Omens, that was making money off of Sonic IP to fund their development. And a project that I personally support, Sonic Satam Season 3, that also has a Patreon. Like I said, we have artists at conventions selling Sonic prints, not licensed by Sega.
Nobody follows any laws at conventions, man. Like, there are no conventions have no laws.
Like,
and you also have to think of before the Made for Kids thing, Balina Productions, which did all those Sonic fan animations, they actually made money at doing that for quite a while.
Like, he has to have a Patreon to make in order to fund his fan animation. Because and there are other Sonic people who like make money. Well, okay, no, that's okay. I'm not going to count like people who cover Sonic. But like, yeah. So like, there's and so there's also stuff like Balina Productions, and so like lots of companies are very like light on this stuff unless it crosses very specific lines. Like Nintendo, they don't care. They don't care so long as you're not like an official corporation or if you're
well,
like any kind of
thing.
Yeah, they are. They're a bit more. I think
the Pokemon company, Pokemon company especially. If you're making something with Pokemon, they will nail you. Like they absolutely hit someone who was trying to make a 4Pay Pokemon mod for Pal World.
Yeah.
So,
well, I did say that Nintendo is notoriously bad about fan games and about companies doing this stuff. Like, there was this Mario Kart go-kart thing that they also killed. But like,
here's the big question: which of the three of us is going to drop the $36 for this book, if any of us?
I don't know. Like,
we all know. No. Don't tell me we don't know. We all know. We all know who will. It's a very obvious answer.
Shigs?
No, not me. I'm not touching it.
No, not Shigs. No.
Are you saying I'm gonna do it?
No! What the heck are you talking about? Which one of us is the sociopath here?
Oh, you are. Okay, good point.
No, of course I'm gonna buy the weird crime book. Of course I'm going to buy the bizarre, like, this should not exist bizarre book.
Well,
sure, I'm gonna...
if you want it to be customized by him, I think he'll do that for like the first 50 copies.
It's like you can get $5 to get it signed, I think, or something. So
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But, okay, so like, but my personal expectation is that Sega is just going to ignore this unless it just like takes everyone by surprise and just sells really well and starts like popping up at bookstores and stuff.
If every news source starts looking at this and starts asking the question of why is he allowed to do this in a way that it's unignorable, then maybe they will take action. But until it actually gets on a meaningful radar, ain't nothing happening with this. Like I just don't think
we've done our part.
So, and it kind of gets into what I feel about it is like the degree to which people care about Ken Penders and what Ken Penders is or did or does or talks. It just, I find it not baffling because I understand the internet gets mad about tiny things on a regular day. Just to make a couple things clear. Penders did not kill Archie. Archie killed Archie. Archie killed Archie through their own, we'll say, structural incompetence.
That's basically what Flynn said. Like that, regardless of the Penders stuff, Archie was probably going to end when it did.
And even then, Sega's, like at that time, Sega was very clearly moving in a different direction for the series. It's why, like, IDW did not just start with, well, we're going to continue the story of Sonic and the Freedom Fighter. No, they're going to sort of work as an extension of the core franchise. We're not moving into this era where we have like 50,000 branches of Sonic. Things that are Sonic are going to be the Sonic brand and use the Sonic brand things. But
aside from the movies.
But also, like, personally speaking, I'm kind of fine with this. Like, obviously his art sucks. Obviously, like the art that he has done. Obviously that all sucks. But I'm thinking of it in the same way as the Pal World thing. Like, am I really holding any water for trying to litigate this for Nintendo or the Pokemon Company? Nintendo and the Pokemon Company don't need me to advocate for them. They have their own lawyers. They understand the legal system better than I do. If he's got... Obviously, hey, if you're rubbernecking, hey, King Rubbernecker here, I am here for the Trash Fire, I'm gonna buy the dumb Trash Fire book. But also, like, what, am I gonna be out there defending Sega? Am I gonna be out there defending the incompetence of Archie to be able to handle their own series and their own paperwork and contracts? Like, no. Archie Sonic is dead. I've grown to accept that. It's there's not a, like, trying to vilify this sad, pathetic, delusional man who has an ego the size of a freight train, who thinks that people love and adore these 2,000 books that he's not going to be able to sell, except to me and like 100 other people. Like, I guess, like, who am I supposed to root for in this? Like, am I just supposed to root for the major international corporation? Like,
yes, in this particular case, yes.
No, because, like, I just don't care. I only care so much as it's a funny story, but I'm not here to see a man... I am here to see a man suffer by his own incompetence and by that, but I'm not here to evoke that happening. Look, I understand. I've been around a lot of people since joining this website that have very strong feelings about him and what he is and what he did, and have, a very strong relationships with Archie on the whole. And I there is a degree to which I get it, because like I said before, I am an Archie fan. I'm also someone who is able to contextualize how I feel about something within the broader culture. And as much as I love Archie, I can see the writing on the wall. Things are going to happen, things are going to change. It always changes. That comic went on for 25 years, and that's more than most comics get, successful or not. Especially from a company like Archie, who seems basically incompetent, as near as I could tell.
I'm curious how they're going to survive Riverdale's cancellation.
My guess is that they won't, but I don't know how. But if they do, I won't know how. Maybe finding another. Apparently, there's some sort of other thing that they're licensing out to an India production company.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So I don't know, maybe that will help get them through, but I didn't know how Archie survived back then. I don't know how Archie survives now. It is always a mystery of a company to me.
Yeah.
But
and when it comes to Penders, I am all out of anger and just have complete apathy. I just do not care anymore.
I will say this, that I don't know, I just find Penders to be annoying at this point. I would miss Archie less if IDW was better.
I don't have sympathy for him because he has brought all of this on himself, but I do have pity because it is a sad situation. It's just sad all around.
Him that, he had all these other ideas. He had these original comics and stories they wanted to tell. Back in the 90s, he tried to get that Lost Ones thing off the ground, and it just never went anywhere.
He got one issue of a comic, and he filmed an entire movie or pilot episode, and that didn't go anywhere.
Imagine.
And he spent the past decade just falling back on his one long-term success, which really he never owned.
He never owned. He never owned, but also he never really bought into. Sure.
Yeah.
He got his fame from Sonic, but it's pretty clear at this point that the degree to which he actually cared or wanted to work on Sonic as Sonic was very low.
He was always interested in doing stories with other characters, and when he got these stories with other characters, he always tried to do his own original things with it, like Knuckles and Shadow,
Yeah, I don't think this is
anything. He was more interested in, say, Star Trek than Sonic.
I mean, in the same way that, like I said, hey, everyone feels so passionate about what's going on. Everyone wants to turn him into the villain. I just think that, hey, the direction Sega, the writing was on the wall. This was going to happen whether Penders was involved or not, is my stance on things. And I think it's just reason enough for, hey, we don't need to litigate this. If Sega feels they need to, they will litigate it. It's not our job to make them aware of it. They're a big international corporation. They can handle this. And we also don't need to spend the collective energy being mad at him, because he's just out he's not.
Yeah, that's how it felt for a while now.
He's not out here. The only context in which I would legitimately be mad, actual mad, is a situation where I think someone who authentically needs money and deserves money for their work is not getting paid money. And in this case, if I had any thought in my mind that Stephen Butler and Jim Amash and Jason Jensen, whose work are all featured on that cover, would have got paid if this was an official Archie product, then that would make me mad that he would not be paying them in some sort of way. But
I hope he's paying them at the very least. Otherwise, he'd be a massive hypocrite.
But we all know that, like, hey, sort of the way that the comics were structured was Sega kind of owned that stuff once it got made and once the license expired. So there's a decent chance they would not get paid regardless. Maybe they would. I don't know how their stuff is structured.
Well, I think that's how it works for reprints that go to another company. Like, I don't think anybody who worked on like Dark Horse comics that if Marvel published them, anybody who worked on those books got paid at all. Anything.
If they get paid and get credit in this book, I would, you know what? I would say cool. I am glad they did. I think that for not necessarily for these specific stories, but other work that those people have done with the book. Yeah, cool. Cool. I think that people who do cool things should get paid for it. Arguably, you know what? There is an argument that Penders probably should get paid for reprints. Like,
like that was the one thing I was always on his side with. He should get royalties. They should all get royalties for reprints. Like, just give him a piece of the pie.
The hypocritical thing is he won't do that. He'll talk about creators' rights, but then he won't pay them anything for the art that was there.
Whether or not he's going to.
Likely.
At this point, yeah. At this point, we don't know. I'm just saying, I'm not very optimistic about it, especially when his name is on the front, nobody else's name is on the front, nobody is mentioned in the back. Maybe if we're lucky, the pages that he stole from online, that we probably all have stolen online at this point, are, photocopied and put in that book, or redrawn in some nightmarish way, who knows? That maybe some other people's names will appear in that.
So moving on to the final big news item tonight. Sonic Generations is probably getting a remaster. And it
maybe
really frustrates me.
We'll know Wednesday.
That the announcement's in just a couple of days, but this was the best night for us to record. But yeah, so like it came out on Twitter from someone who has leaked previous State of Play lineups that Sonic Generations will be featured in some capacity, probably as a remaster, like I just said, in Sony's State of Play, which was just announced today for the 31st of January.
I already have my remaster. It's the one on the Series X where I can play it in 4K and 60 frames per second.
I have my remaster. It's on my Steam Deck, and I made Scourge playable in it. But it's from Nick Baker of Xbox Era, the co-founder and podcast co-host. So like he left a bunch of cryptic hints, and for Sonic, it was Sonic will live in the shadow of his generation while the hills remain silent until dawn. So that's like a couple different games, but for Sonic specifically, like it sounds like Sonic Generation and sounds like Shadow might be featured in some capacity. My personal theory is there'll be like some Shadow-centric content meant to like tie into the movie.
Well, that makes Shadow playable, so they have because he's got
this is where we finally get classic Shadow. I know Iizuka's been telling us this whole time. No, there's no classic Shadow. There's no classic Shadow. That was the misdirect, so that they could introduce classic Shadow.
I mean, we're getting some kind of classic Sonic Shadow skin for Superstars. We know that much. So maybe this ties into that somehow. Or maybe they're going to announce some Sonic Superstars DLC alongside Sonic Generations. Who knows?
Or maybe this is weird flowery language and they're just porting Sonic Generations to modern consoles with some optimizations or something.
That would be a very weird word to use for that. But we always know that we know that Sega always, when they do these games, they add stuff. They add skins or music or content
or bugs or inefficient engines that aren't designed for consoles.
Because they have that digital deluxe edition that they absolutely always have to do now. And we're going to get a Sonic Generations digital.
Oh, we're gonna get the worst digital deluxe version for this. Oh, it's gonna be so freaking cynical. It's gonna be so bad. I can't wait.
So if I had to guess, like, it's gonna be ported to Hedgehog Engine 2. It's gonna like feature some additional music, which is that's not hard to add, and they're gonna like up-res. They're gonna like give us native 4K and 120 frames per second on hardware that can support it. And I don't know, maybe they will give us like something like a playable shadow, like I mentioned. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to keep my expectations in check.
It already sounds like you're wildly out of check based on the things that you've mentioned so far.
I mean, I've said nothing that they haven't done for other remasters.
Sure,
like,
fair enough.
Music and
I say they include the 3DS content in there too if they want to take the ultimate version.
That's my dark horse candidate. Is if they like the real thing to do for this to make it authentically worth the too much that they're going to ask for it is going to be have both games because obviously 3DS porting, it's not going to be the easiest thing. You're going to have to hopefully you have source code. It's going to be associated with dimps and everything, but it's doable. You don't need to do any special 3DS features for a port of this aside from basic UI stuff. There's no motion control. Right, there's no motion controls like Sonic Lost World. There's no touchscreen like both DS games, and it doesn't really use both screens in a meaningful way for, I don't think, any of the game. Like there's
generally
portable. You could completely play that in 2D without any problems.
Yeah, Sega's generally treat their portable entries like an afterthought if they give them any attention at all. But like this is probably the first instance where they seriously could just toss it in and have it just kind of work. So like hopefully, but like that would be a great thing to include for a digital deluxe edition. But like,
oh dear God, I hope they wouldn't. I pray they would not put that behind a digital. That's a whole ass game, sir.
You gotta pay an extra $10.
Oh, for Christ, no! Oh, that would be the. I'm sitting here thinking.
You're not gonna do it.
I'm sitting here thinking I'm the king of cynicism, but no, we found the real king tonight.
Look, I'm just trying to figure out what they would do for that, and it's like music,
costumes. It'll be costumes. They have learned to love and adore and embrace the costume.
Yeah. And like if they're gonna throw in an extra game, why not? An extra incentive, like give that some more value.
At least make it purchasable separate as DLC, not.
But like compared to Sonic Origins and Sonic Colors, like there isn't as much that you need to do for Generations. It just needs like a little bit of sprucing up, and then it's ready to go.
I mean, there's certainly been some hypothesizing across the internet on things that like they could do. Like they could bring in levels from different games. They could they could maybe fix the physics, or at least update the physics for Classic. And yeah, it might require changing some level design, but that's still very doable because I want to highlight this.
Well, you mean bring them up to speed to Sonic Superstars physics? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a story that you guys have heard, and it's only a story that I've heard secondhand from like one source. But I've heard a story that they lost the source code to Generations between the development of Generations and Forces. Don't hold me to this. This is merely, I think, a secondhand story, which might be why Forces Classic Sonic doesn't even feel like Generations Classic Sonic. Again, this is just stuff I've heard, but I wouldn't put it past Sega, is the problem.
But like I don't know. I would not expect them to change Classic Sonic's physics because, like you said, they would have to change the level design. But my hope would be that if they were to like make this make like Shadow a central part of this remaster. That they would include like a level from Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh Christ!
Like, you know.
No, they would include no. You include 1/3 of a level and then you copy paste it 3 times because that's how that level design is.
But like, you know, I don't know, include like the.
No, you go with Central City. You go with Central City, the one that you play with, the one that you play like 6 times because that's how that game works.
No more city levels. They're gonna make a new level.
Central City.
No, like, you know, and like I would hope for some kind of shadow centric level to go along with them, or if we're going to be super ambitious, a Shadow side story that adds like a couple levels and then uses assets from other games he's been featured in to like make like a whole like little campaign for him.
Well,
that's getting super ambitious.
Well, of course, we know that this remaster has been a long time coming. Like Sonic Generations is a game that really needs its assets just completely done over in full 4K. And it's important for this game in particular because they got to then use those assets in every other subsequent Sonic game for the next decade, which is the real driving force behind this.
Maybe that's why we got some.
Thank you. I'll be here all night.
Right.
But yeah, like for me, the only thing I'm really worried about is that what if they delist the original Sonic Generations? Like that would suck. Because there's so many mods attached to that.
Yeah,
a lot of mods.
On the other hand, the PC port has always been the worst.
Yeah.
Version. Oh,
but so I'm of two minds. I am glad that they. So yeah, it would suck to lose the old version. I 100% agree. But number one, that old version has been out forever. Number two, the PC version does suck. This is really giving them some credit that I don't think is earned yet, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this is going to be a good remaster.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I think it has a better chance than Origins. I think it has fewer potential roadblocks than Origins.
I don't care. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, really, like. It's all Hedgehog engine. It's already in HD. They don't need to do as much work on this. So,
but
it shouldn't be messed up.
But at the very least...
It's a Sega. Of course it's going to be messed up some way.
So, again, let's assume, just for the sake of argument, that it's going to be a good version of this. At the very least, if we're removing an old version and replacing it with a new version, it's at least much more akin to, or might be more akin to, the same game. As opposed to, yeah, I love Origins, but Origins is not the Genesis games, and we cannot pretend that they are.
My personal hope would be that either this remaster adds so much and does so much that Sega can confidently keep both on the storefront, or that on the other side of the scale, they just bundle this with the new version.
They Colors Ultimate it.
And like just let us, you know, when you buy the new one, you get the old one.
That I mean, that's.
Won't be completely gone.
I think that's what we agree is, like, that's what they should have just done with Origins. Like, hey, Origins comes with these free ROMs in this other thing that we already sold you. You can download it if you want. We're going to delist them. You could still get them. You get them by buying Origins, but at least those games would still be around.
Yeah. Although at the very least, like, those games are easier to add to Steam than, say, Sonic Generations would be.
Sure. Yeah, that's going to have some complications. I don't know if, hey, people are going to start treating that as abandonware, but there's probably going to be some motivation to crack that afterwards. But I don't know. I don't want to start assuming what's going to be possible or not. But
well, regardless, I am excited. This is something I've been waiting for a while. I would kind of prefer Transformed. I will admit,
yeah.
but I also
Look,
want more content in a Transformed remaster, like new race stuff.
That's at this point it's both of our white, like, it's weird for you and I to align so thoroughly on this concept on like what next Sonic thing we want, but my god, we need an upgraded version of Transform. Have you seen like
Yeah,
put it,
it's so old now. I
yeah,
mean,
put aside how you feel about the gameplay of Team Sonic Racing. Have you seen how good Team Sonic Racing looks?
Yeah,
yes, and then you know, Sonic Racing All Stars Racing, the first one is or even Transformed. So if you play it at 60 frames per second on the Series X, but it's still in that I think maybe even sub 720p. It just looks terrible as far as the resolution goes on the Xbox.
so like get us a visual upgrade, get us some new racers and some new cups, and
Figure
I'll
out
be
what it's
happy.
going to take to get Hot Wheels, GoDaddy, and Danica Patrick.
So, um, uh, I think that'll do it for the news. Now, originally we were going to do 2 discussion topics tonight, but we're just going to have to do Fang the Hunter issues 1 and 2 next month because
My
we
meatloaf is
have
getting cold, and I'm getting pretty hungry right now.
our final discussion topic is pretty meaty because it is the final season of Sonic Prime.
And in my opinion, the worst season of Sonic Prime.
Definitely the worst season. This was like, okay, so let's
Okay,
just
let me give you an
Hmm.
example. I saw the
let's go over the
Transformers.
plot first. Let's go over the
Well,
plot
no,
first. Like,
all right.
I want to give a brief plot summary instead of going straight
The
into it.
plot is giant battle.
So basically, like the previous season ended with 9 alternate universe Tails betraying Sonic, stealing the Paradox Prism, and taking it to this wasteland world called the Grim, where he's gonna like build his own utopia, and like basically in the process of doing that, he's destroying reality.
Well,
And
no. He is not in
okay.
the process of doing that, destroying reality. No, reality, as they mentioned many times, reality was broken by the intrusion of the Egg Council. The Egg Council broke open reality. He's just saving his corner of reality at the cost of everyone else.
All right, I guess I forgot that. I thought that at the very least he was making it worse. But
he
all right, but
he is thinking of
He's committing
himself.
mass genocide in order to
No,
want to live alone forever. Basically,
no,
but
he is denying aid to other places for the sake of being able to live on his own, to basically save his own world at the cost of everyone else's, or making deals to have sort of a complete separation.
But in any case, the Shatterverse is collapsing, and the first 2 episodes are basically all about Sonic and all of the variants of his friends making a deal with the Chaos Council to ally them to ally and to protect the people of New York City and like
I
I
still
don't
wish
know
they would have called it the Egg Council. That's a much funnier
and
name.
like I guess the 10 other random people that live in the pirate universe, and do that and just like fly into the Grim and fight Tails and fight Nine and get the shatter and get the Paradox Prism back and fix reality. Um, and like that's like the first few episodes, and then after that, like Nine makes like these robotic clones of Sonic, Knuckles, Amy, Rouge, and the giant flicky bird from the jungle world, and just starts cloning them ad nauseum constantly. Like,
Sure, yeah.
because hey, it's a computer animated show, and you can do that with the assets and just put a million of them out over and over.
And the first few episodes are about like them getting everyone together, allying themselves, fighting off the flicky birds, and then they break into the Grim, and basically the rest of the season is
the rest of the season, like five episodes of this,
at least of them just fighting these clones of these five robots.
We may have tipped our hands here, but
yes.
So this is fascinating to me, and it's fascinating because we have found the one goddamn thing about this series that I really love that you guys do not. This is great. This is great. I love it.
The final season is just like 5 episodes of non-stop combat.
There's a lot of it, but I mean,
okay, look, I was thinking I saw Transformers: Rise of the Beast last year, and at the final 40 minutes of that, 30 to 40 minutes of that movie is them trying to copy the end of Endgame and just having this big old battle that just drones on and on and on. And it was a pretty good movie overall. That part was just driving me nuts. And this is what they're trying to do here. They're trying to copy another Endgame and making this huge battle that just goes on forever, except it has a few character development moments, like with Nux the Dread and Rusty Rose, and I like those parts. Okay, but it just seems like they go on and on and on and on. And it's a problem that actually the second season, a little bit of the first season had, when they needed to make enough episodes to to fill in. So there's times where Sonic was just kind of going in a circle, and in this case, the circle is the battle itself.
It feels like they just kind of had 6 episodes that they didn't know what to do with, and so they just kind of did these repetitive spikes and repetitive droning on a single plot point for too long, and that was kind of an issue in the second season. That was a big issue in season 3, in my opinion. GX, you've been trying to say something, so go
sure.
on.
No. I won't disagree that it definitely feels a bit more padded. It definitely feels like this was a good twist to the plot. Of many of us saw this coming, but that doesn't mean it's a bad twist if we saw it coming.
I'm enjoying seeing Evil Tales. That's not something I ever thought I'd see, and he was the best part of this season
But I think it really speaks to, for me, what saves it are the character work, which I think the character work in this series is fantastic. I think most of the characters that you would want to get a seat at the table, get to have something about them be highlighted. I think it has a solid heart to it that... if you're
the
really...
one thing I'll say about Sonic Prime is that it's not the best plot, but I really love what they've done with the characters. They still, my favorite Shadow is in Sonic Prime over anything else.
The best Shadow. This has a really good Evil Tales. This has really great Amy stuff.
This entire series, and this is the way that I come at the series, and a lot of people have taken it very literally, but the way I see this series is, this is an exploration of Sonic as a character. Who Sonic is, what Sonic does, what Sonic's relationships are, the way that helps people, the way that it causes friction, and it just pries at that from different angles, from different people, and at the end, it sort of lands on, yes, he does need to do things differently, but also there are aspects of him that are really authentic. There's the weird attitude where everyone seems to want Sonic to be this much more cynical character, as referenced in the IDW, where Sonic's willing to, take vengeance or be angry or do something like that whenever he's No, I have compassion for everybody. I care about my friends just as much as I care about my enemies. It won't stop me from protecting
it should
people,
be
but
noted that there are people on the other side of the spectrum who think Sonic needs to be like this flawless character who
yeah,
like doesn't experience normal human emotions.
sometimes Sega
like,
thinks that.
yeah, like, one thing I often hear is like Sonic is the wind. He's embodiment of the wind. He's the embodiment of freedom and all that stuff. And it's like,
Sometimes
yeah,
Sega
but like,
thinks that.
where's the character in any of that? And Sonic Prime, in my mind, like Sonic Prime is a show that set out to make Sonic a character who can have an arc, and I think it does that very well.
And
Like,
personally,
yes,
I think it not only did that, but I think in the process of that, they made several other characters that have their own arcs as well that interact with Sonic. And I think that's honestly a triumph for Sonic storytelling, considering what we have.
I mean, in the modern context, sure, I'll give you that. Like, nothing, like Ian Fling's Archie stuff still clears this. But
sure,
yeah,
sure.
I think there's a good there's a good show there. It's just that it's too plotting.
But
it's too much about circling around and not getting to where it needs to go.
But what I will say carried me through it was, yes, they use a lot of the same robots. Yeah, they recycle. I get that. But I have no complaints at all about the actual action sequences. I thought the the actual progress of the action sequences, the fight sequences, I think they were really good. I think they were some of the best that this particular series has had, especially considering its sort of rough movement from the first couple episodes into the next couple episodes. These were dynamic, they were engaging, they had characters interacting with a lot of other characters. I adored it.
I saw a Twitter post that showed for one scene with Black Rose, they actually took a piece from a Jackie Chan movie and and modded it for that. So that's just pretty impressive. Like I said, the action is good, but it's also when it's nothing but action, and it keeps just going and going and going. That's my issue.
Shadow versus Chaos Sonic Grim Sonic was spectacular.
There's people there's a lot of people who are upset for what references they didn't make. I think their version of Metal Sonic is actually really cool. Like
Chaos Sonic is a joy.
I gotta admit, I did like Chaos Sonic.
Chaos Sonic and Grim Sonic. Like Grim Sonic, like the more time I spent looking, is like, this is actually a really cool design.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that. Like I love how they use the ears and the eyes to just convey basic emotions, which is not something Metal Sonic is really allowed to do.
No,
like Metal Sonic is the same face at all times, but Chaos Sonic, of course, Chaos Sonic, he could talk. He had an attitude. He was like, like 90s Adventures of Sonic or something.
I wouldn't want him to replace Metal Sonic, but I think he makes a lot of sense for the type of story and the type of world that they were making for this particular project.
Yeah. Like for me, like in terms of character work, I feel like Knuckles the Dread was a little weird.
He was underbaked. But he was also underbaked in service of the real series MVP, which is every single Amy Rose.
Yeah.
The Amy's were great. And
I did like
but great.
Nux the Dread's final character building part was great, where he's like, you know what? You're the captain now, because you got the more common sense and heart than I have. I was just too tempted.
I just kind of feel like it came out of nowhere for him, though. That's my issue.
It wasn't. It wasn't great. Like I was expecting something to happen a couple episodes before that, but yeah, I will agree.
Yeah, there's a few times where he's just sitting there in the corner, just sulking because he can't have that thing.
It's I have interpreted this series as not like, again, I said it's all about Sonic. It's about looking at Sonic as a character and picking apart what makes him him and where the positives and negatives of that are. I see the Shatterverse separations as different aspects of these core characters' personalities. I see Knuckles the Dread as sort of the loner Knuckles who guards the Master Emerald and is obsessed with that, where I see the New York City, what is it called? Like, it's just he's just Nux in that or something.
No, I think it's Nux. New York City Nux is the duty.
But sort of the cynical, untrusting version of that who is certainly ready to scrap. I see. Tails is like, these are different sides of the same character from my perspective, and just whenever I get to Amy Rose for that, this is more characterization. This is more facets to her as a character and making the things about her important than I would argue any other piece of Sonic media, and I will include Archie and IDW in this conversation, has ever done. I think this takes the ideas that they were trying to establish in Sonic Frontiers, not about, like obviously they've moved away from her being obsessed with Sonic and moved towards her being just a compassionate person who wants to do right by the world. And they have found...
I've been trying to kick myself into writing an article exactly about this, about how they've completely, redone her character and redeemed it in a lot of ways.
But these are three separate ways to handle this version of a character, and all of them are good. She's a leadership. Yeah. She's a leader character. She's a character whose entire motivation is built on natural compassion. She is someone seeking her own freedom and abandoning, a life that was not working for her. Yeah, obviously I don't think this wholeheartedly, but there's an interpretation you could make about Rusty Rose that she is abandoning the old version of Amy. I don't think that's intentional, but you certainly could. There's an article to be written to be like, yeah, this is the abandonment of old crappy Amy. Here's new ass-kicking leadership Amy on the scene, ready to do everything. It's what I wish they were going to do in IDW, but it just feels like they never did.
I mean, they were going in that direction, and then it's like, oh, no, she doesn't want to do this. Jewel can lead the resistance now. Which, I don't know, like, fair enough, I guess Flynn or Sega or someone didn't think that was the right direction.
Look, we don't need a new Sally. We have a Sally. Her name is Amy Rose. You can turn that character into this other character slowly over time. It would make sense if you do it right.
Yes, but
which you kind of already have. I love what they did with Mangy, that he's actually is a super genius under all that, barking and growling and everything.
Like I said, these are all like reflections of the core characters in different ways, in different lights. And I like that.
Now I might as well go over, like, these are my issues with Sonic Prime. The world feels empty and underdeveloped, especially everything outside of New York City. Like we touched on earlier, I think the pacing is off. I feel like they could have cut the final battle's combat length in half without losing any of the key fighting moments or any of the key character moments. And I also feel like they could have probably also shortened some of Season 2's plots. Like I forget what Sonic was trying to do there.
Another problem I have is that despite all this long battle and everything, it feels like it ended quickly. We never
Yes,
got
and
an
my final
epilogue. We never
issue-
got an epilogue to what happened, with 9 of, or then the rest of them, if
Well,
their world still even existed once the
there's
once
no reason to
the
think it doesn't.
prints
And
them
my
go
final
together. I
issue,
believe it does
I,
too. So I'd like
my
to know
final
what
issue
Did 9 go with the rebels, or did he just go live on his own again?
And my final issue is that like we don't really see much of the regular versions of the characters, especially like not at the end, and they keep like writing Shadow out of the story for some reason, even though like it
Oh
feels
yeah,
like
him being in
yes, that
that
would have been a
grave being
very good
just
way
stuck
of
in a crevice. Yeah, come
they
on.
that would have been a very good way of like refreshing the storyline a bit by introducing Shadow and having him get involved with events. But
I
so yeah,
so, I hear that, and to me that feels like a lot of that feels like all of that in the context that I'm hearing a lot of this story being taken of in Sonic fans, which is to say, I want this to be a world. I want this to be a set of characters. I want this to be the big believable thing that, is a big chunk of like, hey, it's Sonic, and this is Sonic, and everything's Sonic, and Sonic as the world, the franchise, the series. And I guess my reply to that is, okay, but I think we get that through the other characters. I think that like I said, I believe firmly this series is a metaphor, like a broad-standing metaphor for Sonic himself. Like the relationships he has with his friends and how he treats people. I think the arc he goes through with 9 is an actual arc about Sonic and Tails and the kind of relationship that they have. And
9 is a character that feels most directly like just a reflection of the character that he's based on. Like 9 is essentially Tails with.
But I feel that about all the characters. Like I feel that pretty, like I said, I feel that really strongly about Amy. Rouge is a little bit inconsistent. I am glad they kind of found good ways to represent her, but I don't think that she's an important part of the story. Knuckles, I'm like maybe 60% feeling that way. There's definitely some cool stuff, but Knuckles doesn't get
Knuckles
to have...
feels almost the same in each one, except for the Savage one, the jungle one, where he's kind of an idiot.
I disagree with that, but I see where it comes from.
Like the jungle iterations of all the characters is kind of the worst one outside of Amy.
Well,
that's mostly Amy's story, I suppose.
Yes, that is Amy's story. It's kind of it's weird because it is weird because they all turned into Amy's story. Is what it kind of happened, except for 9, but they also did kind of all turn into Amy's story.
Like, here's Amy without a heart. Here's like Amy without friends. Here's Amy with.
Here's a story about Knuckles, but also it's actually about Amy.
It was like less assertive, I think you could say, for Pirate Amy.
I guess the issue is I've just been hearing so much. There's so much negative feelings about this that, and the problem is, yeah, some of it is critical in the ways that you have, and I will absolutely say, yeah, it felt padded near the end. It felt like they could have maybe turned this from a 24 episode series to like, what if it was just a really svelte like 12 to 15 to 16 episode series that I think that they could get through quicker. That said, like, the arguments that I'm hearing are weird things like the ways it relates to the canon, or...
Yeah, like, there are people who assert that Sonic Prime, that Sonic Prime cannot be canon because Sonic does not act like their Sonic.
The problem...
It's like...
The number one problem with that is this is made by different people with a different vision of Sonic. Also, every Sonic made by different people acts like a different Sonic. Let's not pretend that Evan Stanley's Sonic is the same Sonic as Ian Flynn's Sonic. they are, in many ways, still different Sonics.
like the Sonic, I said, I kind of touched on this a bit way earlier in the podcast, like hours ago. But Sonic has a couple broad, consistent character traits. He's heroic. He likes his friends. Stuff like that. And then it's like everything else, is molded to fit the game or the comic or in this case the show.
I have deemed a new term for this in the process of trying to figure out like how could I explain this. And the phrase that I've landed on is Sonic has a homeopathic canon. They have something that sort of feels like canon. It has ideas of canon, but it doesn't have a strict canon. It doesn't have, like, a timeline of things that are happening in concrete ways.
Like, that is basically how Ian Flynn treats it. Like, he says, like, it doesn't matter, like, the timeline. The timeline things doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much time has passed.
My understanding is Sega has explicitly told him that special stages don't actually exist, that they just exist as a... Pardon?
They did. They said that they're just game mechanics.
Right. They're just sort of an abstraction of like, okay, this is how they get the emeralds, which means the air quotes canon thing would be he just gets them somehow. So like the idea of there being a firmly established canon is nonsense, because I don't think Sonic Team is interested in like having things be that concrete, and I don't think that the series can reasonably exist for 30 years on the idea that there is a plan, because it's existed for 30 years.
So like I think we should probably touch on the Chaos Council. And that's one of those things where you kind of saw people turning against them towards the third season.
Sure.
I admit, like, I found
kind of liked them better in this last season. I'll admit that they kind of had some fun moments, in my opinion.
I kind of feel like the Chaos Council, it featured the Beatnik and the baby way too heavily. And
I love Dr. Deep. Dr. Deep sucks as a character, but I love Dr. Deep. He is such a wonderfully insufferable character. He is
what I love about these guys. They're all different aspects of Eggman's personality. It's what makes it fit so well. Like you were talking about the different aspects of Amy Rose, and this is how they are with Eggman. It's the babies represents his temper tantrums. Dr. Deep is like how he thinks he's so philosophical and everything, and the what is it? The old man's the more wise part of him.
Well, grouchy perhaps.
Grouchy, yeah.
But regardless, like one of the things that just kind of annoyed me at the Chaos Council is that like the reason they exist is just like it's never elaborated upon or explained. It's just kind of weird.
Well,
it's like
because for a while there, I always thought that that Eggman got destroyed.
So well, that's what it's been
separated somehow.
So so the way that in I believe some sort of interview or something, it was sort of explained that like Sonic was the cause of like if I pick apart the way that I think this mythology works, and it is that the Shatter Spaces did not actually exist until the point that they were created by Sonic impacting the crystal in the way he did. Because otherwise, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for the worlds to not have a Sonic, or for the Eggmans to be distributed in that sort of way, in a very uneven way. Now, depending on how you're considering universe theory and the flow of time, my interpretation of this is nothing existed, but they have a heavy air quotes history to them, just because of the way space-time would, sci-fi, mumbo-jumbo, whatever.
Yeah. like they all have some kind of history, especially New York City, where like they specifically go into the backstory of all of that. But like for me, just like the Chaos Console simply like just not making any sense on a conceptual level on like how they exist, how they were created, all of that stuff. Like why is Eggman like just different ages and personalities now?
It's different versions
like,
of him.
It just kind of adds to the to New York City not feeling like a real place, not feeling like a world. Which I don't know, but
I am willing to be more.
Well, see, the thing is that with New York City and those others is that it's a computer animation. They only have, a limited room for the budget. So
no.
Each world is only about a mile in size. Square.
I'm gonna go.
It's just kind of how it.
I'm gonna go even simpler than that. This is a story about them having to make 5 worlds, and it's primarily not about those worlds. It's about characters. It's not about the worlds there. That's, like I said, like we're dealing with IDW right now. IDW isn't about Sonic's world. It's about the characters in them, and it's jarring that we don't have a good established world for that when we're used to the comics having that, but that is what they are apparently going for.
Well, regardless, like even when it's about characters, if you don't have a world that feels like a world, it just makes the world they inhabit feel empty, and it makes for a lesser story. But
New York individually, I will agree with you 100%. The Shatter Space as a larger ecosystem of these different things, I think it ultimately does come together for me.
But so for the Chaos Council, I like them to a point, but I feel like towards the end, the fact that they were all like just kind of these very simple archetypes was starting to grate on me. Like they just they just weren't. They just gotten old for me at that point, and I don't know.
Like I think here's what saved it for me. Like I said, most of the characters get their moment, and their moment was the moment that Sonic realized, like, what's driving them and what he needs for them. Now, obviously, this is a very simple childish theme, but the idea that, like, no, it's not about this battle. It's about getting through it, getting new information, evolving, and moving forward, which is what Sonic's arc needed to be about. Like 9 establishes in it, yeah, we can say a lot about, like, Sonic wanting to be the hero, which he does, but there is a degree to which Sonic is, in a very Spider-Man-like way, driven by a guilt to solve a problem that he created. And this is not the first time that Sonic has had a story like this. I repeatedly sort of cite that, like, maybe Sonic Lost World doesn't get the credit it deserves with the type of story it's telling.
I mean, Sonic Lost World was decent enough in concept, at least. It just failed.
I like the themes that it has. I liked some of the flow of the story. Obviously, it's a bit too Saturday morning for what they were trying to go to, but I appreciate what it was trying to do. I know I'm the old I'm that game story only defender, but I will wear that title with pride.
Well, so long as you don't start like saying that the Deadly Six are like these deep characters and not these shallow archetypes.
Oh no, they suck. They suck, but they suck in a funny way.
But regardless, so like, moving on to like just the whole battle, like for me, like so the combat was for the most part quite good, but it's just that the length of it made it repetitive. But one thing that I did really appreciate was when Tails created the big robot.
Yep.
Which was like this gigantic big the cat mecha. And I was just like
they made the one character who has
reaction to it.
They made the one character who has not mattered at any point in this series into the biggest threat to everyone.
I was like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna do it? Like, are we actually gonna get a big the cat robot? Nah. And then Tails just makes this gigantic thing that gets
Metal
fires
Big.
like a
Look,
billion missiles and kills the other Tails.
another victory for this series. This
And
series
for
knows
some reason has controls inside of it.
another victory of the series. This series not only knows how to do Shadow, they not only know how to do Amy Rose, they also know how to do Big the Cat better than Sega ever has.
Yeah,
You know how to do
I'll
Froggy
give you
better than
that.
Sega ever has.
Yup.
One of my favorite scenes is the Sonic swimming away as a pirate, and they get kind of conflicted on whether to attack him or not. Froggy jumps over his shoulder and starts flicking his foot on the pistol trigger
Like,
just to shoot at him.
overall, the pacing of this is enough of an issue. Combined with me not being a huge fan of like Knuckles the Dread, and I don't know, and I guess the jungle characters. There is enough to at least knock this show down in the rankings for me to like maybe third place behind Sonic Satam and Sonic Boom. But I do still, I did enjoy this show. I'm
Third place is still pretty good.
I at least want to watch it one more time. Yes, as a whole one it's just a whole thing. And
I would probably put this over Sonic Satam. I absolutely would.
Get it,
really?
Sonic Satam has like, you know,
that
some, like,
Sonic Satam does not. Sonic Satam has more character work than a video game based series would in the 90s. It doesn't have character work this good. It does not have character dynamics as good as this. The only characters that I feel have really strong dynamics in that show for me are Sonic and Sally, and it's hard for me to point to like any other group that has something akin to what they have.
Like, the only character in Sonic Satam that I don't care for is Antoine for obvious reasons. And
sure.
But like, you know, when I compare that to Sonic Prime, it just, the ratio just doesn't quite work. But for Sonic Boom, like, you know, not every episode hits, but a lot of them do, and when they do, they are very funny.
Like I say, I'm gonna just simplify it for me. It's like great character work, a bit plotting in the plot department, basically.
Yeah. I would hope that they tighten it up if they do any kind of follow-up, which, given the ending, it feels like they might do that.
I doubt it. They just wanted to leave on an ambiguous note of,
kind of like cliffhanger,
because
like,
Sonic's smiling at the end of it, so it's more than likely just Eggman.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't.
If it was just Eggman, it would have shown Eggman.
I don't need the closure that you guys wanted for like these characters. I kind of feel like, yeah,
I did want the closure for 9 because basically it was, he was the secondary character in this. He was outside of Sonic, he was the main character.
I think that where we left the Shadowverse characters was fine. I do think that the ending, when Sonic got back to Green Hill, did feel rushed. But basically, like I would have liked to have spent a little more time in the ending, just like kind of settling things and like I don't know, a little more time.
You wanted to spend time hanging out with the actual cast and not the alternate universe cast.
Well, for some additional closure, for some additional, like, hey, Sonic tells them what happened, and you have like 10 seconds of them being, oh, so, yeah, the ending felt rushed, but I don't know, not the biggest issue, but it does end with like a blue light, and we don't see what it is, and it's not big enough that it's something that absolutely needs to be followed up on, but it does feel like something that they kind of say, hey, like, maybe this is a potential season 2 hook.
Okay, so speaking of rushed endings, it's almost 9:00, and I normally have dinner around 6.
So I do think we have discussed Sonic Prime pretty thoroughly, and it's almost midnight here. So this was Sonic Talk 108. Thank you all for joining me, Shigs, GX.
Peace all.
Thank you very much for coming in.
See you all in a month. Bye.
We will probably see you in less than a month.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we might.
Maybe we'll do a special episode if enough news comes out.
Here's hoping for more than a teaser.
Doing a live stream maybe Wednesday.
I was interested in doing that.
I am also interested, but I will be at a work function.
Just tell them
and I'm not good at streaming.
I cannot get out of this one. This one has something very important that I specifically need to do for it, so I'm not escaping this one.
All right. Okay. Anyway, thank you all for joining me.
Hey, we're a part of SonicStadium.org. Go to SonicStadium.org and check out Sonic News and one of the internet's oldest Sonic fan communities. Go check out our coverage and specifically, hey, go check out things Wednesday after 5 because, yeah, if there's going to be something, we're going to make sure to be posting on it. We've got plenty of news, all the news that we discussed this week, and go check on our YouTube page. We will be having some more YouTube content soon, including, hey, I have got a review I'm working on of the recently, well, I should probably say it's still upcoming, dice game Sonic Roll. It's pretty good. I have complex feelings about it, but overall I'm landing on it's pretty good. And I've got some Sonic builds going up on YouTube of the Lego sets.
Yay.
And Shigs has some dinner.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't know. It's midnight. I should probably go to bed soon. So bye.
Peace, y'all.
Thanks for listening.
Okay.
Okay.